Everybody was looking forward to the unstoppable force versus the immovable object.
He's got a counter move.
Edie with the left hand.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Gillis, a good passer and pick and pop.
Smith upstairs. Jumbo jam. Zach Edie.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
UConn's got to get moving on the offensive end. Nice steal here. Smith. Nice pass.
Diarra lays it in.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Diarra, feed it.
Nice pass.
Turn, Diarra, blocked by Edie.
A body block. Nice look.
Oh, perfect pass, Lawyer. Denied. It's Caravan.
What a hustle play.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Handoff, Newton on the move. Drive and kick. Caravan, contact, no call. Spencer penetrates and the scoop goes. Camtastic.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Caravan using the Klingon screen. Feed it.
Replace.
Castle. Got a three.
They do that as well as anybody in the country.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
We are like a can of Red Man tobacco. Smokeless today.
Well played.
Paul Catalina, Garrett Ross, Jack McKenzie, and Emery Winter in studio. Emery is wearing long pants today because he had to fight a parking ticket. And he stuck it to the man. It was unjust. He stood up for the little guy and said, today it's Emery Winter. Tomorrow it's you, America. And won. So Emery walked in and said I had to go in front of a judge today. And I was like, you're going to need to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
So we do background checks here. Anyway, we're going to talk Masters today. And it has already been mentioned 2 times in the chat room before the Open was done playing that I did not have Mark Pope on my top 5 yesterday for Plan Bs.
Not.
And the reason I did is that every single expert, including Kentucky people, that I asked about it, every single one was like, nah, like they're not gonna go for that. They're not gonna go for that. They're not gonna go for that. Well, guess what? They went for that.
Well, to me, I think it's one of those things when you look at this hire, like we were talking all along that they wanted to make the splash hire, right? Like the program like Kentucky, Texas football, et cetera, they want to go out for the splash hire. But at the end of the day, finding a guy who is young, who wants to be there, who understands the situation they're walking into, while their resume might not stack up at the moment, giving them a chance ultimately might be the best thing for that program. And he's one of your own, so you might as well just adopt the situation.
Yeah, I think that I think it's a good hire. I think he's a good basketball coach. I think he hasn't even scratched the surface of how good he can be yet. And they're going to like the style that they play at BYU, very NBA style of basketball that's coming to Kentucky, so it shouldn't change up that much. I don't see any reason why they should be as upset as they are collectively, as I say, collectively as a fan base, but large sections of the fan base, especially given that he's one of their own. That, my gosh, like he was on the 96 championship team. Like, how about a little love for that guy?
Well, see, I think it was really unique, and I'm glad you brought that up, the 96 championship team part, because I recommend everybody go to Twitter right now, look up Rick Pitino, and watch the video that Rick Pitino made from the office in St. John's talking about Mark Pope and how he's the right guy for this job, and kind of telling people that because right now if you look at Pope, he has no wins in the tournament, but he said, if you look at a guy like Jay Wright in that situation, it took Jay Wright 11 years to finally get a win in the tournament, and I think that's what it is, man. It's like sometimes it might not be the it might not be glamorous, right? But just give them time, let them sit back. I always go, to me, my default on this is always Dabo, because I think he's a great, and Scott Drew. They went into a situation where they were given time to put things in place. It worked out. The stress wasn't there. And eventually it turned into winning championships. And I think it's the instant gratification thing now has kind of spilled over into all this. And I think if you just sit back, be patient, and give people like this an opportunity, they can win, and ultimately might be the best thing for you. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that there's just so much animosity that comes. And also, like, let's just get into this part. I get that Kentucky is one of the most blue blood big jobs you can get.
Right.
But to think that 3 days after a guy wins his second national championship in a row somewhere else, that you could just call him up and get him.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
Is a fan thing that we need to let go of. It happens a lot all over the place, especially for the schools that are big and bad and know they have a ton of money and know they have a lot of support. We can just get anybody we want. Well, clearly you can't. And you know how I can, you know what else? Nobody can just get anyone they want anymore.
No.
The world is different. It's very different because more programs are spending more money to keep their coaches in place, to be competitive. And there's not any more of this, oh, well, that's just how it's going to be. No, there's more people. Like, that's why it's harder to win over and over again, because, people are not just going to roll over and die anymore.
Well, I also think a large part of that, too, is now that you have NIL and you have the transfer portal, like the field has been evened out. Like, all right, look at Alabama basketball, right? Like, Alabama basketball was never a thing. And then you go back and look at the Colin Sexton. They get him in there. Obviously, they probably paid him off the books, yada, yada. But it's to a situation now where with the NIL in place, being able to get players and everything, Nate Oates can say, I'm more comfortable at Alabama than going to Kentucky. And that's something that was never even been thought about even 3 to 4 years ago. Like, the whole landscape has completely shifted. So you don't have to be like at a blue blood or these brand name places to get the job done anymore. And I think that's kind of the beauty of this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Garrett, let's start out with the Big Blue Nation message board. This is from Cats Illustrated. Catman111 under the We Just Hired thread. And thank you to message board geniuses for existing.
Yes.
I'm just going to say this right now. To message board geniuses, to the Sickos committee, we don't see him as much anymore, but the Nebraska guy.
The Nebraska?
Faux Pelini.
Oh, Faux Pelini.
Faux Pelini and all those.
Cyclone Larry, all those.
Yeah, Cyclone Larry. You guys are what Twitter should be about.
Yes. I love that, sure. Andrew Luck.
Freezing cold takes.
Remember the Civil War Andrew Luck?
Yeah. Commandant and Andrew Luck or whatever it was. Yes. Yes, you guys are what it's supposed to be about. We just hired our Kenny Payne.
Oh.
And look, there is Louisville and Kentucky going through it at the same time for different reasons.
Correct.
Kenny Payne, bottom out at that program, and it's unfortunate. And Kenny Payne will probably go back and get an NBA assistant coaching job, and
he'll be fine.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine. It sucks that he couldn't win at his alma mater, but to throw that on Mark Polk before he's even coached a game is just. But you see, this is what happens when if I asked you, Garrett, listen, tell me 3 concerts you want to go to tomorrow. Like if I just said, we're going to a concert, tell me which 3.
Oh, me like right now?
Yeah.
Big Crit. We do Big Crit. Let's do Gary Clark Jr. and Dirty Heads.
Okay. And what if I came back to you and said, all right, great. I couldn't get tickets to any of those.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see, somebody who's still good, but not any of those 3.
Like Nelly or something.
Yeah, we're going to go see Nelly. You're still going to have a good time. He's gonna sing most of Country Grammar, but it's not.
Yes,
it's not Gary Clark Jr. Right?
Correct.
So it's not. You're like we did that. That's how they feel, but they don't even know. They might have just hired Big Crit.
They could have.
They might have, but they think they hired Nelly. And that's how they feel right now, and it's sad. I need for the older chat room. I'll say it this way. I said, would you like to go see Billy Joel, Elton John, or James Taylor? And then I came back with, how about Journey without Steve Perry? And you're like, well,
hell no.
I mean, we'll go, but it's not what we really want to see. So, Leonard Skinnerd now, without any of the original band.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like that's what we'll do. So, but yeah, so that was that. All right, Garrett, we have lots of headlines to get to.
We do.
This, as of Monday, will be called officially the Smokestack, brought to you by SeatGeek. So let's go ahead and this is the last one that's not the Smokestack. But these are the headlines of the day. We're going to run through them right now. Garrett, go ahead.
All right, so with Mark Pope headed to Kentucky, that leaves a void at BYU, and now players have started to hit the portal, including their point guard, and I don't know if that's Dalen or Dylan Hall, but he has hit the portal, so that's a big loss as players are starting to exit from Provo.
Yes, Hall's in the portal, and who else?
You also have Ali Khalifa, who is the most deceptive player. I don't know how to describe him, if he's unathletically athletic or deceptively athletic, but for him to be able to shoot from beyond the arc the way he does, it just if you look at him, you're like, this cat's not going to play basketball, but he's pretty efficient.
4 assists a game. I mean, obviously he's not knocking it down with under 6 points a game, but he will step back and hit a three. He'll get some rebounds. He takes up a lot of space, no doubt about that. I do wonder if those guys will wind up at Kentucky or if they'll wind up somewhere else, because again, Mark Pope is fishing in
deep waters.
In deeper waters now. I mean, he's not. And no offense to BYU, but
it's different.
It's different. Like when you go and you're the coach of Kentucky, that goes from the the lake to the ocean.
Yes.
Like he is absolutely he's whale hunting now. So, but you do here's part of the problem is Kentucky did maybe a little too much whale hunting.
Yes.
They might need some worker bees, and especially worker bees who can help Mark Pope bring his program and his style to Kentucky. So I wouldn't be surprised to see people fall there.
No, I wouldn't either. Especially if you build around those two, they already know how to implement the system and get it started there. I think that'd be a good way to lay the groundwork. In other, what will be Big 12 basketball news next year, Colorado will be without point guard KJ Simpson as he is headed to the NBA draft.
And hiring an agent too, so
Yes.
No hope of him coming back. We will not get to see him play Big 12 basketball. KJ Simpson on his way, hopefully to the league. I'm not sure where he's projected right now, but I did watch him play in the postseason quite a bit. He is a guy who can get hot and light it up really quick. One of those good all-around players. So we'll see what happens with Simpson as it comes, KJ Simpson, as he comes into the league. But bad news for Colorado. I'm sure they were hoping to have him as they went into the league.
Oh, yeah.
Look, they'll probably do okay. I mean, they're a good team, and they've been consistently pretty good. But man, not having that guy coming in, it's gonna hurt a little bit.
Yep. From one player who we are not sure where he's going to go in the draft to one we will probably see go pretty quick off the board, Donovan Clingan, big man from Connecticut, has entered the NBA draft as well.
Yeah, it would have been stupid for him not to.
Yeah.
Because he is 7'2". He's pretty athletic, and he will get dirty. He will absolutely get dirty. He's going to have to learn to be a little more graceful as an NBA player, but I mean, there's not guys built like him he plays really good defense. Right. He didn't stop Zach Edey by any stretch of the imagination on Monday night, but he slowed him down enough. Mm-hmm. He made it harder for him to throw outlet passes. He made it harder for the whole game to run through Zach Edey, and that's why they were able to put distance, because all you need, and this was kind of the difference between UConn's plan against Purdue versus, say, Kim Mulkey's playing versus Caitlin Clark, where it looked like Kim Mulkey was kind of saying, like, look, there's nothing we can do to stop her if she's going to pull up, 7 feet behind the arc and drain threes, which is kind of true.
That's true.
But if you can just stop her, which is what South Carolina did for a little while, you can throw them off kilter.
Yep.
And that's what UConn was able to do. You can't, for 40 minutes, take Zach Edey out of a game.
No.
But if you take him out for the right 10, then you can win that game by double digits like they did. And they befuddle him enough. It doesn't even have to be 10 consecutively. It can be 2 here, 4 here, 1 here, and this. And those together, that's where the difference lies. It doesn't have to be 10 straight minutes.
Right.
Like, that's if it is, like, man, you've done a great job. But if it's, 3 pockets of 3 and then one minute stretch at the end where he's not a factor, then you can probably win a game. Donovan Clingan did that. He did that very well. And he did it very well against everybody he played at all. So no matter if it was. And of course that Connecticut team, they're gonna start losing guys, but I'm not worried about Dan Hurley being able to fill those spots on back-to-back hits there. So, all right, what's next?
What's next? We have one football note here as UNLV coach Barry Odom receives a new contract through 2028. And honestly, low-key, I thought he was gone. I thought he had retired. I must have been mixing him up with somebody.
We had him on the show, Garrett.
Yeah, I know.
We had him on the show when we were in Vegas.
I know. Mm-hmm. I guess I was thinking of the San Diego State coach. I mixed those two up. That's what happened with that one.
Yeah.
Another note here. Let's go golf. Your boy Tiger. Most consecutive Masters cuts ever. So how do you feel about this, Paul?
I feel great about it. I wish he could really genuinely be in a position to win, but let's face it. He's not in position to win right now.
So is this the new gear? This the new logo we're working with?
I guess so, yeah.
Thing? Okay.
Yeah. So
not sure I like that.
I haven't gotten any yet. He hasn't sent me any.
You done yet?
I've seen him play in events before, but I've never been anywhere where I've seen him except one time. He was walking out of the Cowboys locker room right before we walked in, and I almost fell over.
I bet. I was like,
oh my God, Tiger Woods is here, and I called Smokey. I'm like, I'm really distracted, and I don't know what to I really want to go chase down Tiger and say listen. If you want to break Nicklaus's record, bring me a board. I can't help you for crap with golf. I can't I'm not going to help you putt better. I'm not going to help you on your irons. All I'm going to do is I'm going to be the friend that you need that can get you right up here. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd have been. When he was like, hey, should I do this Navy SEAL workout? And I'd have been like, because you need a friend. My best friend Billy was here a couple weeks ago. And he brought a couple things up to me that only he can, he and a couple other people can bring up to me.
Right.
And just other things, and we have those things where, hey, let's make sure we do this, kind of a thing. And it's just a good, little pep talk you get.
Yeah.
I don't think Tiger has those people in his life.
Probably not.
I think he has people that are too afraid to challenge him a lot of the time. And when he gets challenged, by a lot of the golf coaches, he's moved on because he's used to something. Again, 15 years ago, you come to me hey, listen, I have this opportunity to go work out with the Navy SEALs and get really strong. And I'd have been listen, Tiger, that's pretty awesome. The Navy SEALs are amazing. They've done amazing things for this country. And I think if you can gather any kind of mental acuity or the way that they prepare from them, I think that's great. However, are you a Navy SEAL? No, you're not. You don't need to do that stuff. You need to take care of your body and make sure it's ready to go to win golf majors. When was the last time they killed Osama bin Laden with a 9-iron? They didn't do that. They had a helicopter and they had guns and night vision and stuff, okay? Their workout doesn't translate. Let's be real here, buddy. I'm trying to get you to 19 majors. And then he'd be like, man, I'm glad we had this talk.
I think he needed you in his life, man.
Again, that's what I could have been to him. That's what I could have been.
The mentor he never needed.
Yeah.
Who he needed.
Yes, exactly.
I like that.
Right there. Good old, listen, me and Charlie, hey, you know what, I'm having a stressful time. Can you come take Charlie to a ball game? Yes, I'd love to do that.
I got that.
Let's get him off the golf course for a little bit so he can enjoy life. Let's not have him have the childhood you had, which was like golf. Your dad, sending you off to play golf while he ran and banged girls at their house and then came back. Like, let's break the cycle. Man, it's good that you are not afraid to talk to me like that. That's what I could have done for Tiger Woods.
Dang. It's a shame, man. We'll never know.
It is a shame. It is a shame.
Know. Last two things we have, and it is NFL draft related. First off, programs with the most projected picks this year in the class. Does any of these numbers surprise you? Michigan is
17.
It's ridiculous.
Like 17 at Michigan. Look, I know that team's good. I know they're NFL ready. Like, that's why Harbaugh is now with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Texas having 10 guys drafted is why they're good again.
Yes.
Or potentially drafted. They went through years where they had like one or two. 1 year they had none. None. And that's the University of Texas. FSU at 9. You look at the teams, like Penn State's got to be like, why weren't we better?
Right.
Well, Ohio State only having 6. You would say, oh, man, that's down for Ohio State. Yeah, they're all coming back.
Yeah.
They're all coming back. Ohio State's my preseason number 1 right now.
That's a good one. I think when I look at this list, the one that jumps off is Mizzou, because I never really think of Mizzou of having that much NFL talent. Like, they'll always have 2 or 3 guys every once in a while that pop. But
Darius Robinson's going to get drafted. Tyron Hooper's going to get drafted. Cody Schrader's going to get drafted. Javon Foster's going to get drafted. So, yeah, they have quite a bit. They have quite a bit of guys who are going to be in there. I'm leaving 2 off, and I'm sure I'll think of them later. Both the cornerbacks, Evans Drain and Ennis Rakestraw. So those are the guys. So, like, yeah, all 6 draft prep king here.
My man.
Yeah, I could. Let's see. Let me do FSU.
Okay.
See if I can hit if I can get to their 9. Let's see. FSU's 9 would be Braden Fisk, Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Jared Verse, Renardo Green, Jerrion Jones, Jaheim Bell.
Need 2 more.
Kalen DeLoach.
Okay. 1 more.
Jordan Travis. Jesus.
Travis.
Come on. How did I not think of Jordan Travis?
The most important player.
The son I never had. Yeah. So, do you think you could do LSU?
No. I would say, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and I do not know the other 3.
Mekhi Wingo, Jordan
Wingo.
Jefferson, and Charles Turner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take 50%. I'll ride with
Yeah,
that.
there you go. That's all right there. That's all right. So I could honestly, we could play this game for a little bit. It would be very boring for the chat and the room and the people watching afterwards. What is he just going to show off how much of a nerd he is and how much he reads about the draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not going to do that. All right. But Michigan, it bowls me over here.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Washington at 9 also doesn't surprise me, given that those 3 wide receivers are all going to go. Penix is going to go. Dylan Johnson's going to go. Roger Rosengarten, Braylon Trice. There's 7 right there. And I'm they have a tackle that's another guard or tackle that's gonna be gone, and then so there's quite a bit. All right, and the next one, these are the players that are going to be invited to the draft. Bo Nix and Michael Penix are not on this list, by the way. Terrion Arnold, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., who hasn't shown up to anything he's been invited to just yet. J.C. Latham from Alabama. Laichu Latu from UCLA. Drake May of North Carolina. Quinyon Mitchell of Toledo. That's going to be a dude. That's a sneaky good player right there out of Toledo. How Toledo kept him out of the portal is I'll never... he must be just one of those really honorable dudes. And I'm not saying that if you took money and went, you're not honorable, but
he's just
someone who's just loyal dude. Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Darius Robinson of Mizzou. Brian Thomas Jr. of LSU, Dallas Turner, and Caleb Williams, who will be there. So
solid list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Dan Miner said, I heard on Sirius Radio this morning that Kentucky basketball and O.J. Simpson died on the same day. That's hard.
Funny.
That is harsh. That is super harsh. When we come back, Ryan Andrade, who's joined us every week for the last 3 weeks, he's going to talk Masters with us, and he's going to talk college basketball. He's from RotoWire. That's next. This is 365 Sports.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Kasasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Kasasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is a premier elite life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Offering over 50 group exercise classes every week, including boot camp, bar, silver sneakers, and 10 cycling classes with morning and evening classes available. New state-of-the-art bikes that allow you to compete against yourself with a screen monitoring your speed, miles, resistance, and power. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, Alex Botch, and Nathan Roach, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow, losing inches in weight the right way. There's a kids club included with your membership, plus sauna and tanning bed. 16 tennis courts, plus a beautiful stadium court, and longtime youth tennis pro Britt Coleman and assistant junior pro Kenna. Adult tennis lessons and clinics with Blake, and the commitment to pickleball with 8 courts and instructor Jody Thurman. Visit the website at wacotennis.com next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Joined now is who's become a weekly guest the last 3 weeks, Ryan Andrade of RotoWire.com, brought to you by GolfPartnerUSA.com. I'm going to drop our link into the chat so you can go and see the great deals that Golf Partner USA has right there. So you see it. I just dropped it there. And Ryan, we're going to talk Masters in a second, but you have two main gigs at RotoWire. You do college basketball and you do golf. So we're going to talk Masters in a second. But college basketball-wise, this has been a wild week, especially here, waiting on Scott Drew's decision. He spurns Kentucky. They go to Mark Pope, who is one of their own, and the temperature in Lexington is low for him. What do you think about Kentucky's decision and how this went down?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you think about it, right? And, I think part of the Big Blue Nation's concerns and things like that is the fact that a job like Kentucky doesn't just go out on the open market. We've seen any of the blue bloods, really. I mean, we saw Duke and North Carolina get filled recently, but those were all hires within. You knew those were coming months ahead of time. You just don't really see a job like this open up. And the fact that there was a number of different candidates out there that they tried to reach out to and fell through for various reasons. But honestly, I think it's a solid hire. You look at Mark Pope and, he's always been a great offensive coach, even at his time at Utah Valley, before moving on to BYU. And honestly, look at BYU this year. They were picked to finish 13th in the Big 12 this year. And nobody really gave them a shot coming from the WCC into, what many consider to be the best conference in America, the Big 12. And man, I mean, he picked up some really big wins, probably most notably going into Allen Fieldhouse and knocking off Kansas. And, there's a lot of talk about, he doesn't have an NCAA tournament win yet or different things like that. And, honestly, I think you just sort of got to give him a chance and let him sort of develop there, get his recruiting in place and see what he can do.
Where do you think Kentucky fans are wrong to be disappointed because they were wrong to think that Danny Hurley or Jay Wright? I mean, like Scott Drew, it was close. I mean, it was he made a decision. It wasn't like he told them no right away. He sent his family up there, vetted everything, and decided to stay here. But thinking that when it's your first choices are Jay Wright, who's very retired, Danny Hurley, who's just won his second title in a row 3 days ago, and then Billy Donovan, who's in the NBA and hasn't been in college in over a decade. Do you think they set themselves up for this disappointment as opposed to just letting Mitch Barnhart figure out who the right guy is?
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of a weird-ish situation in itself. You think about, Cal was sort of on the outs, it felt like, with a lot of their fans and a lot of the boosters and things like that. And I don't know how much that played into everything. They were certainly later in the, coaching carousel than a lot of these other teams that found, some pretty solid options. I definitely think it's for the Kentucky fans. I think it's more of a pride thing, seeing, a lot of bigger name coaches that, and seemingly it would be an upgrade. Scott Drew, he's been at Baylor for 20 plus years. And I mean, I think if there wasn't, I saw it was sort of a family decision and, which is very understandable that he wanted to stay in Waco. But I think a guy like that, or a guy like, Dan Hurley, if he's not coming off 2 national championships, going from UConn to Kentucky, I mean, Kentucky is, like I said, it's sort of, right there with your Kansas, your North Carolina, your Duke, UCLA as sort of top of the top as far as college basketball goes. And I think that's where more of the frustration is for the Kentucky fans, is the fact that a lot of big names just said that we're good here. We're good where we are. So I think that's kind of where we are with that.
I talked with Kendall Kaut, one of our writers on SicEm365.com yesterday, because he lives in Kansas and knows this very well. He's marrying a KU grad. I'm married to a KU grad. So I know this. But I'm curious from your perspective, because, Ryan, I know that you're a KU guy as well. And Kansas and Kentucky, Duke and, it's weird because Duke and North Carolina behave pretty much the same. Like, they're kind of opposite sides of the same coin. Kansas and Kentucky are those other two blue blood jobs that I would think they would behave kind of the same. But Kansas has never once complained about Bill Self. Not one time. Kentucky complains about everything all the time, including John Calipari, like after he didn't make the Final Four for just a year. And then this has been building for about 8 years since he didn't make the Final Four. What do you think the difference is in that? Because Kansas fans went, 14 years between titles. But I've never heard one of them say like, I'm just tired of Bill Self and his nonsense.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that if you just look at it, and it goes largely overshadowed with just how much emphasis is placed on the tournament, is the level of consistency, like consistent greatness that Kansas has had. They have not had a single down year the way that a team like Kentucky, who I think has missed a couple tournaments while Cal has been there, which just should be absolutely unacceptable when you're bringing in that kind of talent. Kansas has been a top 4 seed for the last 24 seasons, which is just like, they've certainly had their fair share of early exits. I'm not going to deny that, but the fact that every single year they are at least in the mix, whether that be for the Big 12 or, there's at least some hope going into the tournament that they could go all the way. Sometimes, it doesn't happen. But, it's definitely interesting. I think just because Kentucky seems like they've had a few more higher profile players, I would say, over the last decade than Kansas has. Kansas has been a little bit more of the guys that are there for 4 or 5 years. They've had a few one and done here and there, but Kentucky is the one that's, we're the team that's leading in NBA first round draft picks by a wide margin over anybody for the last decade plus. And, they see these guys go to the NBA and ball out, and they're like, why couldn't you get this team to come together and put it together? So yeah, it's interesting how that sort of worked out, but it's weeks like this where I am definitely happy to be a Kansas fan, and I'll just let Kentucky just figure their stuff out and see where they go from here.
One day, and I know this because my wife and brother-in-law, I really just hope that when Bill Self retires, that the succession plan or who they have in mind, that it takes about 6 hours. Like I don't think I can take any more than that before the complete family meltdown that would happen. If they had to go through what Kentucky just went through at all. But that's probably, a few years off in the future, so I'm not going to worry about it now. All right, Ryan, let's talk Masters right now. Bryson DeChambeau, great start yesterday and is still the leader right now, except through 14 today, he is just even, so he has added nothing to that lead. Scotty Scheffler, even today through 8, he's still playing absolutely fantastic. Max Homa had a great day today, like he did yesterday. I mean, he was very consistent. So how do you think this is going to shake out as we get into Saturday?
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at it. I mean, it's this week sort of puts an emphasis on what men's professional golf has been missing for the last couple of years since Live Golf sort of came to the forefront. A guy like Bryson, which like he's had the highest of highs, he's had the lowest of lows, but he is content. I mean, he is absolutely exhilarating to watch. Whether it's the long drives or this week, big story was his irons were 3D printed, and the center of the club face is pushed up almost like a wood or a driver would be, to keep the face stable through impact, through high speed, which nobody's ever thought of something like that before, but that's just the kind of guy that Bryson is. He's willing to go to the ends of the earth to try to find any sort of advantage. But he hasn't played well at Augusta as of late. But whatever he found with these irons, it's certainly been paying off because he's hit quite a few. And listen, I mean, when you got wherever Scotty ends up finishing, the conditions are really, really tough out there right now. So we'll see where he comes in. But I mean, I would be surprised if Scotty did not win, considering the position he's at now and the players that are around him, just considering how good of a ball striker he is. But there's certainly no shortages of things to watch over the weekend.
Ryan, who do you think could make a move this week or on Saturday to get towards the top that's not DeChambeau, Homa, or Scheffler?
Yeah, I was kind of looking down the leaderboard, and one guy that came to mind was Ludwig Aubert. This is actually his first major championship start, which is incredible considering the fact that he is the number 9th ranked player in the world. And this time last year, he was playing college golf at Texas Tech. And so, I mean, man, he is a top 3 driver in the world. He's great with his irons, and the short game has actually been pretty strong for him too this week. But he's sitting there. He shot the round of the day so far. First guy to shoot in the 60s all day today. So he's sitting there at 2 under, just sort of lurking. I think a guy like that, a guy like a Patrick Cantlay, who has, he's basically won everything there is to win golf besides a major. He's won a FedEx Cup. I think he has 9 wins on the PGA Tour, but he's sitting there at 2 under, and he's got a sneaky good record at Augusta. He was the year Tiger won. He actually eagled 15 to briefly take the lead before Tiger came and got him. But I would say Aubert and Cantlay, just so the guys that are sort of lurking there at 1-2 under par. If it ends up being DeChambeau, Homa, Scheffler sort of at the top, those would probably be 2 guys I'd watch on moving day.
Tiger Woods just made his 24th consecutive cut. He's played. He's tied for 24th at 1 over. I guess he just knows that course so well, and I hope he actually finishes this year, because that would be great. I don't expect him to, take 8 shots out of this lead and go get up there like Tiger maybe could in the past, but still pretty impressive that has not missed the cut at Augusta ever.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing that really cemented it for me was the fact you think about that, right? And there's been a lot of years, especially recently, where he's come in and, this might be his first start of the year. And the fact that he's able to still make the cut, considering the world-class players that are in this field, is truly incredible. I mean, you look at a guy like, Jordan Spieth, who's going to miss the cut this week. He's right in his prime. And Tiger hasn't had one single slip-up like that, even when he hasn't even been playing, that makes it even more mind-blowing for me. And yeah, I mean, listen, if Tiger could, I mean, he would never do this because he's so competitive, but if the PGA Tour said you can take a cart, you can go wherever you want, I think he would probably play 10, 12 times a year. And I think he could still easily be a top 25 player in the world. That's like how good he still hits the ball. The short game is always the thing to watch, because when you don't make that many competitive starts, that's usually the thing that takes the longest to sort of get there. It was pretty solid today. But yeah, I mean, it's just always going to be such a question, right? Because he can hit the shots, and the shots don't give him any pain at all. It's the walking, it's picking the ball out of the cup, and especially at a place like Augusta that's so hilly and it's got all these different types of slopes. It's just, I hope he can get through 72 holes and put up 2 more decent rounds, because, man, I mean, it's just, you never know how many more times you're going to get to watch a guy like that. And a special place like Augusta, it's just, it's truly incredible to watch.
Ryan, thank you so much for hopping on again. Love having you on, like all the time. This has been great stuff. Super pumped to do more stuff with RotoWire. Look, RotoWire.com is a fantastic look. If you're into fantasy sports betting, like any of that stuff, if you just like numbers, RotoWire.com is where you go. Ryan covers golf and college basketball for them. Ryan, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Ryan Andrade from RotoWire.com. That's brought to you by GolfPartnerUSA.com. Link is dropped into the chat there. So go to GolfPartnerUSA.com. We're going to have we're working on a page of all the deals that we've got going right now.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, so, especially golf stuff. We've got a lot of golf stuff coming down the pipeline here, and it's exciting. Gary, can you give Emery your microphone?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, I'm going to need to talk to Emery because before we get Grayson on here in a second. Emery, I have terrible news now that the cut line has happened.
Yes, sir.
So do you know the terrible news I have for us?
Yeah, I think I have I think I have a feeling.
I'm out because of Jordan Spieth.
Mm-hmm.
You're out because of Victor Hovland. Smokey's out because of Harmon. Craig is out because of Sam Burns, and I think Keegan Bradley. I got to go back and look. Rob wins before we get to the weekend because of our format. So Rob is the champion, and he has won.
I mean, it's only fitting, right?
Yeah.
He has an unfair advantage.
So here's what I'm going to say right now. Terrell Hatton was dead to me now. Joining him on that list is a guy I like a whole lot. But I'm sorry, Jordan Spieth. You're dead to me. Not that, look, here's the deal. I also drafted Hideki Matsuyama, and he just barely made the cut. So he still gets to be alive to me. But Jordan Spieth, dead to me.
Yeah, there were some pictures that were floating around in his swing. He looked like he was trying real hard.
Yeah. So here's the computer. The screen that we have the Masters on down here has been frozen for like an hour, and that's what Jordan Spieth wishes his swing was right now, just frozen and not how it looked. So, but yeah. Well, Emery, I just wanted to let everybody know that. When we come back, we're going to talk Baylor as they are a week away from the spring scrimmage with Grayson Grunhafer, SicEm365.com. This is 365 Sports.
Samantha Duvall, TexasBeefHouse.com. I know business is rolling along, and you've got a special right now that involves Wagyu hamburger patties, but something extra special with that.
So we've got a deal going on right now that if you buy our family bundle, the 28-pound Wagyu hamburger patty bundle, we're going to throw in some of our beef bacon and our flat iron steak for free. And flat iron steak, as our family, our whole Duvall family, that is one of our favorite steak, and it's not a well-known steak. This is something that's in our auction. So we want people to try this flat iron prior to, and that way, whenever it comes time for our auction on April 25th, you have your chance to bid on the beef, the entire case of flat iron.
I've used flat iron steak as well. It's a unique piece of beef, obviously, and everything Wagyu, farm-raised Wagyu beef, TexasBeefHouse.com.
There's two different ways that we eat it. You can either grill it like you grill a normal steak and eat it like that, or another thing that I like to do in our family is we make it in a stir fry. So we slice it up in little thin pieces, put it on the stove with some coconut oil, blanch some broccoli, and we eat it as a little stir fry with steak and broccoli.
My mom did that too with flat iron steak. TexasBeefHouse.com, just outside of Tyler in White House, the Duvall family and the ranch. Farm-raised Wagyu beef at TexasBeefHouse.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33. Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Grayson Grunhaver, SicEm365.com. And I know that I said that we're going to talk Baylor football, which we will in a second. But, Grayson, the big story here is that Scott Drew is going nowhere, although it was a very dicey 2 or 3 days of him considering it. His family went up there and looked around. There was a lot that went into it, but this is good news in a lot of regards for Baylor because, one, he's going to be at Baylor, and two, I think this pretty much solidifies that the only place he's ever going to be is at Baylor now that he's turned Kentucky down, which is great going forward for however long he is here before he retires.
Correct. And I think it's a really interesting situation because I think if you look around and you just kind of look at the jobs that could have come available, the Kentucky one seemed like the one that would be the most tempting, I think, for Scott Drew. And a big part of that is, Duke and North Carolina, they just don't hire outside of their program. It's kind of become a normal thing for them. They're going to hire from within. And, they got coaches in place now. And, of course, Kansas does as well. And then you look around and it's like UConn's got their guy. But Kentucky seems like the program, that goes out and really does an extensive search and tries to hire, the best available coach possible. They kind of ended up with a little bit of a dud, in my opinion, as far as what the fans think, even though I think Mark Pope's a good coach. It just was very interesting to see, Scott Drew turn that down. And I mean, I think it became pretty apparent that he was going to stay at Baylor kind of the night before the decision was made. I know Ashley Hodge was completely on top of that the whole way. And it never turned into he's for sure going to Kentucky. But when the family's going up there to look at Kentucky, when you're having conversations with Kentucky, I mean, it's clear that there was interest there and a decision that had to be made. But ultimately, I think the lifestyle, what he's built at Baylor and what his family's built at Baylor at the end of the day is the reason that he stayed.
Yeah, Grayson, I think that I don't know how long it'll last, but at least for the next year or two, he can go and tell recruits, look, Louisville and Kentucky came after me in the same 2 weeks, and I told both of them no. So
yeah, and I mean he did that. I mean he's been able to say that a few times because this is not the first time a school's come after him. I think Indiana was looking at him a few years ago. Of course, everyone highlights the Memphis one after John Calipari left as well. So he's had chances to leave Baylor, but at the end of the day, I mean, look at what he's built in Waco, and I think that's a big reason why he's stayed loyal to the not just the fan base but to the school and just to what he's built there. I think that legacy is definitely cemented, and I think it's one of those legacies that we're going to continue to see build now.
So now that basketball is solved and we don't have to panic about that anymore, football becomes a focus as we are 8 days away from the spring game. And Grayson, what will you have your eye on next week when it comes to the spring game? Because they are so hard to discern about, really, especially since they're not going to do any kind of traditional format. But what will you have your eye on when you're watching that?
Well, I mean, there's a couple areas, but I think all eyes are going to be on the quarterback position. And, for obvious reasons, I think the first reason being that Dave Aranda has pretty much made the decision after spring ball pretty much every year. And so, going into this spring game coming up in a week, I mean, it's one of those situations where, Sawyer Robertson is pushing DeQuan Finn far more than I think anyone anticipated. And I think when you bring in a guy of that caliber from the transfer portal, I think it's probably pretty surprising to the staff as well that this has been such a battle. And I do think that it's more because of the growth that Sawyer Robertson has shown and just how comfortable he is in this offense, because it's much more similar to what he was running at Mississippi State as opposed to what Baylor ran a year ago. So I think that's going to be fascinating, to see if coming off that spring game, if one of them, I think in general, if DeQuan Finn comes out and has an amazing performance, I could see them just going ahead and making that decision right then and there. If it's if they think that Sora Robertson has the leg up after the spring game, I do not see them making that decision immediately, if that makes sense. I don't think you bring in a transfer like that and then make a decision during spring ball that he's not starting. I think you're going to want to see more. So very curious about all of that, and very curious to see, how it shakes out and see how both play, because I think when you turn the lights on and actually roll the ball out there, I do think there are some things that DeQuan Finn can do that are very electric and very different. And that's no slight against Sora Robertson, who's been very consistent this spring. It's just that running ability of Finn is going to be very intriguing to watch. Outside of that, I'm very curious to see the offensive line versus the defensive line. Last year, I felt like the defensive line really dominated all spring against the offensive line, and it really turned out to just be that the offensive line was terrible. And so, you put that together, and then you realize, oh, wow, the defensive line wasn't good either by the time the season started. So I'm curious if this year we see a little more flash plays by the defensive line or the offensive line, a little more explosiveness, whether that's in the run game or getting after the quarterback. I'm just curious to see that battle and see which group has the edge, because so far during spring ball, I feel like it's leaning still towards the defensive line. But with Kurt Daniker back, I'm curious if maybe the offensive line takes a step forward.
Do you think that the 5 spots are fairly solidified, given how much they've used the transfer portal for that?
On the offensive line?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, for me, I feel like it's fairly obvious. I think you maybe have one position up for grabs, and that one position is probably right tackle. Just because I think Campbell Barrington is going to be the guy there, and I think he should be the guy there. But Caden Siraki had good moments last year, so I'm curious if that battle goes any further. And then, of course, you also have Gavin Byers, who's played a lot of snaps. I think he's more of a rotational guy than a starter. I think he's a quality veteran, but I don't think that he's going to take a starting role from Kurt Daniker or Omar Ekbedian. And then I think Colton Price is pretty solidified at center, and Alvin Ebeselli at left tackle. So it's really right tackle is the one that I think has the most competition currently.
Recruiting-wise, what's in the offing here in the next couple weeks?
They actually have quite a few visitors coming up this upcoming weekend. You're going to have guys who are committed visiting. And so I think that's kind of where, kind of most of the intrigue is coming from. A lot of guys who are going to be taking official visits will be visiting over the next couple weeks, including for the spring game. I think it's just about visits, getting guys on campus. I will mention, I think there's a little bit of momentum right now for a really good prospect in South Oak Cliff linebacker Jaden Shelton. There's some momentum there on Baylor's side, and he's a guy who would be a heck of addition to this class. He's a guy who's had a lot of interest in Baylor for a while now. He visited last weekend for the scrimmage, and just is a guy who is an absolute playmaker and would be a really nice gift for the Baylor staff. You look at his offer list: Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Texas A&M. So a lot of really good offers, and a guy that I think Baylor is currently trending for, and one that would be a huge pickup at a position of need at that linebacker spot.
Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com. Grayson, enjoy the weekend now that we're not going to have to think about a basketball search.
Thanks so much, Paul. I appreciate it, man. Have a great weekend.
Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com. In a couple weeks, I'm just going to have Grayson and I do a draft segment because he's a big draft Nick like I am. He is. I think I'm the only draft Nick in the room.
I've tried, I've gotten into it a little bit, but I'm not full blown like you. I think you are solidified as the true draft Nick.
I am. I love the draft. I don't get as critical as people do because, honestly, how do you know?
There's no way to know.
Yeah. How many people were like, Brock Purdy, come on. Why didn't you use that pick on somebody who's going to make the team? But no, hey. I'm very sometimes I'll be like, no, I don't want this guy.
Right.
I can tell you I am very critical of most of the Cowboys drafts.
They're good
at it. They're good at it to a point, but there's a couple of things that they always do where you're like,
Come on. Yeah.
You know, like, did you guys watch the film? Did you guys watch the film? You didn't watch the film.
Do you think that's what happened with Mozzie Smith?
Like Mozzie Smith, I think they saw the video of him jumping up the stairs.
Right.
And he's
Like, we got that guy.
Yeah, he's such an athlete. Like, oh yeah, we got to have him, and then it's all like after that, it's all over. So, I don't know. And we'll see. Well, first year in the league is tough, especially at the position he plays. You know, you're playing dudes
right
for the first time. So I don't know.
Paul, we have a piece of, I guess you could call it history now.
Yes,
maybe?
we do. Before we take a break to go to Brian Howell,
the Scott Drew table.
The Scott Drew table at Mi Casita here has been forever immortalized. So you can go to Mi Casita and sit there, where Scott Drew and Eric Chiro shared a meal that was, if you asked many in Kentucky, people thought was going to be the last good chips and salsa that he had.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, whoever said, and I've said it 3 days in a row now, here's the person who might have undone it. It may not have just been a family thing. But when you said, Coach, we've got good Mexican food up here, you might have made him think like, well, do you?
Yeah.
There's no way that's possible.
That was the felt swoop.
Yeah. I'm done. There's nothing I've got to stay here. Honestly, we went to one in Nashville. Downtown Nashville. It was good.
Passable.
It was passable. But all the time, a man has lived here just long enough to where I think I'm about to turn her. I think I'm about to get that turned. I mean, because I was like, you know, that was before she'd moved here.
Yeah,
that was before she'd moved here. Now she knows, but 3 years now of living with me. Look, when we're out of these states, we're going to eat at places that
familiar surroundings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not just going to. Yeah, no. That's not how we do things. We do things differently in the Catalina family. All right, when we come back, Brian Howell, Boulder Daily Camera, we'll talk Dion Season 2 with us. This is 365 Sports.
It's Dodge Power Shot Days at Allen Samuels in Waco. Experience the adrenaline-pumping performance and cutting-edge technology of Dodge. From the sleek and stylish 2023 Charger to the performance and muscle of a Challenger to the bold and rugged Durango. During Dodge Power Shot Days, we're offering amazing deals and special incentives that will make driving a new Dodge even more exhilarating. Don't miss out on these exclusive savings. Visit Allen Samuels in Waco today and unleash the power of Dodge.
Come by. Let's be friends.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. Like a restaurant now, we are smokeless, smoke-free. The smokes are off in Tyler, Texas right now as they prepare for Jennifer's wedding. And we are joined now by Brian Howell, the Boulder Daily Camera. And Brian, before we get to football, KJ Simpson going into the draft, not, I guess, maybe as much a surprise hiring an agent, but I'm sure they wanted him to exhaust his eligibility, considering that they are headed into the Big 12 and could certainly use a player of his caliber next season.
Yeah, no question. He's truly one of the best players to come through CU, especially in the last couple of decades, and certainly under. He's a top 5 player that's come through there, and that's saying something because although Colorado's not that blue blood program, there's guys that are still playing in the NBA that played for Tad Boyle. So to say that about KJ Simpson is pretty big, and yeah, they would have loved for him to come back. I was a little surprised that he announced he's hiring an agent. I thought he would maybe just go through that pre-draft process and then go from there. But hiring an agent. Certainly a changing of the guard a little bit for CU.
All right, Brian, it is year 2 for Deion Sanders at Colorado, and year 1 started off with a bang and ended with a bit of a whimper because they just were not deep on the lines at all and had to get better at a lot of positions. So far, what is your take from what they've added, and will that be good news for Shedeur Sanders in particular, who got so beat up towards the end of last year?
Yeah, the changes they've made have been, on offense especially, have been geared towards the quarterback. And, that's what you do with a generational quarterback, and that's what he is at Colorado. And, whether it's the coach's son or not, that's kind of what you do for a player of that caliber. And, they went out and they've got, I think it's 6 transfer linemen total, plus they got Jordan Seaton, who was the number 1 offensive line recruit in the country. And I also think that Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator helps Shedeur because he's going to have, more of that NFL mentality with the offense and, running the ball, pass pro, things like that. So they're going to do a lot of things to try to protect Shedeur and make sure that they're utilizing all the skill players around him as well.
What do you think the running game will look like this year with Alton McCaskill, with Edwards, with all those guys being they're at full force for them?
Well, I think first and foremost is I think they're going to commit to it more than they did last year, and that wouldn't be hard because they didn't really commit to it. A lot of their running, even the running back coach this week talked to us and said, last year he goes, I'm not sure there were very many runs at all, that we were just straight, this is a run play, because so many of their runs were RPOs. And what we were told this week is a lot of it's going to be more straight up run plays. And I think just committing to it makes it a better run game. And, that's what linemen love to do is run block. They like that more than pass blocking. And I think that's going to help the offensive line and give them that mentality of maybe going out there and, pushing some people around and opening the holes. But I think Alton McCaskill being healthy, fans down that area, they saw him at Houston 2 years ago. He's a really good player. Micah Welch is a true freshman that's been here this spring that looks really good. So, Dylan Edwards obviously is very talented. So they've got some talented backs back there if they can just block one.
Brian, Deion Sanders made a comment a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about how he's not going to do home visits and he's not going to really focus on his out-of-town high school recruiting. Do you feel he's not using all the weapons in his arsenal if he does that?
No, to me, for him, the home visits, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I mean, I think that, especially with the recruits I've talked to, is, they're excited about playing for Deion Sanders. And I think that, honestly, the fact that he's got a gold jacket, and he does lean on that, but I think that's real. And I think that, when you've got a staff member that's, doing that visit for you, and they get on the phone or FaceTime and hand the phone to that recruit and say, hey, here's Deion Sanders on FaceTime, that means as much as a home visit would for a regular coach. So I think that's a big deal. These guys love it if they can even get on FaceTime with him.
Have you seen what is the biggest shift in the way that like maybe he's learned different things or adapted in year two, the way he's presenting this year?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and he actually said it before last year, that he, obviously because he played receiver, played DB, at his introductory press conference a year and a half ago, he said he builds from the outside in, which is very different. You always hear coaches say they want to build from the inside out, which means they start building from the lines and then get the skill guys. Well, he got all the skill guys first. And so what the difference is that their focus this year has been on the inside and getting guys in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. They still need probably some linebacker help, but I think that's the biggest thing is, and I wouldn't say it's something that he learned, but that was just kind of the plan all along. And, I think that maybe he thought they had more in the trenches last year than they did, but it was certainly an emphasis this offseason.
What do you expect this team, Big 12 year one, what's fair for the fans to expect with this is they should just call this the clean slate conference because nobody's really come in here able to brag about what you've done before because this is as completely new as a conference could really be.
Yeah. Colorado's probably got as many Big 12 championship game appearances as anybody else. But they were a long time ago. But for this Colorado team, I think the expectation is they're not going to be an easy out. I mean, I don't think they're going to – I don't see them winning the Big 12. I think that they're going to be a team that's going to be tough to beat. I think they win 7-8 games. And if they're 7-5, 8-4, that's a really good season for them. 2 years removed from 1-11. And, it's not going to match the expectations that everybody has for Deion Sanders. But if it was any other coach and they're 2 years removed from that bad season in 2022 and they go 8-4, that's really impressive. And I think that's what you can kind of expect is that they're going to be a tough team and, they're going to be a team that's not easy to beat.
Do you think he will have as much me versus the world stuff this year?
I think it depends week to week. Some of that last year was, came about by what other coaches would do, and, some of it was some of the things that Nebraska would, said, they would latch on to maybe one thing that they heard come out of Nebraska and now it's personal. There was one thing, the CSU thing last year wasn't going to be like that at all until Jay Norvell, the head coach, made a comment in his coach's show like 2 days before the game. So then it became an us against you type of thing. So I think a lot of it depends on what comes out of these other teams. Are they going to do those things? Because we didn't see a lot of that in the second half of last season because there wasn't that stuff coming out of the other camps. So it depends. I think it's hard to tell right now what that's going to be like.
Do you think that Shedeur Sanders would have been a first-round draft pick had he left this year?
Yeah, I do. He's that talented, and I think that his upside is huge. And I think obviously it's a pretty good quarterback class, but I do think that he would have been up there. And to me, if he had the same tools around him that Michael Penix and Bo Nix had, he would have put up the same numbers, if not better, and been looked at as a top 5 or top 10 pick. And so I think that sometimes the tools around you matter. What he did with what he didn't have around him last year, I thought was really impressive.
How much of a two-way player is Travis Hunter, and what will be his last year in college?
Very much. I mean, he's their best receiver. He's their best corner. And it's interesting then that he was playing outside corner. He's always played outside. Well, this year they're now moving him to the slot, and so he's even more versatile. So he can move around quite a bit. But he's going to play a lot of offense. He's going to play a lot of defense.
Brian Howell, Boulder Daily Camera, with us here on 365 Sports. Brian, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's Brian Howell. We had to move him. He was supposed to be on the show on Wednesday. If you guys don't remember Wednesday, we do. A transformer exploded downtown, and we had to
good times.
We were in total darkness for almost an hour.
At least we got toilet paper out of the situation.
We did. Smokey went and got the absolute best that $2 can buy.
Yes, he did. And that was much
At least he
needed.
did.
Because he's against the bidets. He's against
the bidets. Listen, I'm going to convert him. I'm going to convert America. It's a goal I have in life. I'm not going to get into it on this show because I don't want Smokey to lose his mind. But, but yeah, no, I'm. We were like, look, we're prepared for all happenings here.
We are.
We're ready for a very small apocalypse.
So with Brian there, what are your expectations for Colorado?
I think they're going to make a bowl. I do. I think they'll be better, And let me pull up their schedule right now.
I'm just interested, like, how much better can that offensive line be? Because you've got to do some major work there. Because Shadur was just obliterated last year. I know they've addressed that, but have you addressed it enough from a depth perspective where the wear and tear through the Big 12? You don't find yourself in a situation like Baylor last year. That's kind of where I'm at with Colorado.
Yeah, their schedule is interesting. They play North Dakota State.
That's all. Yeah, that's tricky.
Who's not gonna?
That's a tricky one.
Honestly, who's gonna get that's a good game for this team to open up against because they'll probably win it. But of all the FCS teams they could play, they're gonna play one that's gonna scrap.
Yep,
they're gonna absolutely scrap. You're gonna remember them and how hard they played at least before you could put the throttle down on them. At Nebraska is game number 2, and that'll be very interesting the second time around. And Nebraska just had no offense last year at all.
I think the lead up to the quarterback battle in that with Raiola coming in and Shadur, I think that could be very intriguing. I like watching Colorado, Nebraska. It's just kind of that nostalgia factor there. I hope that's a game that they could play. I don't know if you could get it right now every season, but because I don't know what their schedule is out. But I hope that's one that they can play more on a regular basis.
Yep. At Colorado State, which that game last year was a slobber knocker. Baylor at home. And we don't know,
no clue on that.
We have no clue on that right now. Baylor's a completely new team. At UCF, which is going to be tough for them. That's going to be tough on the road. Kansas State at home is going to be tough. At Arizona, going to be tough. Cincinnati, don't know.
Yeah.
At Tech, going to be tough. At Utah at home, going to be tough. At KU, going to be tough. Oklahoma State at home, going to be tough. So, do I find 6 wins in there? Probably.
Right.
But especially since all those things I said are going to be tough could not. But look, they've got to get to 5 wins before the bye week to make sure that happens. Because there's a good chance that if they don't get to 5 before the bye week, which actually 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that'd be 5-0. They've got to get to 4 before the bye week. They've got to go 4-2 out of the first 6, I would say, because if they don't have 4-2, then they're man.
So as a draft Nick, and I know we'll learn a lot more this season, but how do you view Travis Hunter as his future goes on?
I think he's a wide receiver, but
think so.
We'll see. I mean, he might be a corner. He's shown both. Maybe he's the Ohtani of football. I mean, Deion played both.
Right.
Deion was able to do both to a certain degree. We'll see. I think if he's a cornerback, he's a wide receiver that, has, some specialty routes in a game. It's just not really done at the NFL level. So, it's fine. You can do a lot of that in college. Sione Vaki is not going to play running back and safety in the NFL. It's just not how it's going to be. Now, look, if Travis Hunter is the closest comp to Deion we've had since Deion, Deion made some plays as a wide receiver. He made some, when he was with the Cowboys, I particularly remembered and loved. So we'll see how that goes. But, I don't know.
Never know.
I don't know. And look, here's the thing. Deion Sanders has already said that he's going to Archie Manning the draft process a little bit for those two.
Man, I hate that. Just let it be. I understand the situations. We've seen it with almost every quarterback who's ever been drafted by Cleveland. It just derails their whole career. But I hate people that the Manning situation where you use your leverage in the room to control the narrative. I don't like that at all, especially with Travis Hunter. That's not even really your kid, man.
I mean, look, if Travis Hunter wants him to do it, then
I get it, but that's not for me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like I'm not like, as a person who enjoys like the drama of it all.
Yeah,
like let's see how it works out.
It was for the chaos,
because I like the Bears will have Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
The Commanders will have a quarterback.
Yep.
Somebody will have Drake May and somebody will have J.J. McCarthy. Now the teams that draft Penix and Nix might feel differently, but I have a feeling the Titans are going to need a quarterback. I'm not completely sold on Will Levis. I mean, I think they've got to give him a full season before they make that decision, especially this is the time to do that as they're kind of in transition. I think the Cowboys might need one. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could happen. The Giants might need one. So, like, there are scenarios that could play themselves out where, you know, there's some pretty big-time NFL franchises that could need one for Shedeur. And then with Travis Hunter, like, everybody needs a dude who can do what he can do. Like, as long as he's not, like, a total doofus, which I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either.
You know, as long as he's not, like, believe me, he's a first-round talent. He's so skilled and talented and can do so many things that there's an NFL team out there that's going to take him in the first round. But, look, if Deion doesn't want him to go play for the Browns, like, I think also some of it is, here's the other thing that Deion knows, because he was in the NFL for a long time. He's also was in the media for a long time. He also knows the good and bad owners.
Yes.
Like, that's what this is really about. That was what John Elway's thing was about when it came to the Colts and him not wanting to play there, was he didn't care for Bob Irsay. And Deion Sanders knows the owners that he thinks are, you know, going to do right by the players. So he has that knowledge maybe more than your regular. So did Archie Manning.
Yeah.
You know, and Archie Manning did not want Eli to go to San Diego because he did not like the way that Eli was treated. He didn't think it. Dean Spanos he didn't align with the Manning family values. And look, that's fine. Like, I don't mind that. Like, I don't think he was trying to get him drafted by an exact team that he wanted him to get drafted by. He just didn't want him to go there, you know? And so, it worked out for both parties, I think.
It did.
Phillip Rivers is one of the two greatest quarterbacks in the histories of the Chargers. It's him and Dan Fouts. And then, you know, granted they didn't go to the Super Bowl or win one, but they still had a really good run with Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson. And then Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. So worked out. Yep. Like it wasn't as tragic as it nearly could have been. When we come back, Jake Hatch, what are BYU's next steps? And then we'll talk to Art Strickland live from the Masters, brought to you by golfpartner.com and Caddy Daddy. So we're about to have a whole slew of golf options for you guys, for the golfers to go and purchase from. And I'll make it easy for you guys to do that, so you can find all the cool deals that we have going on because of the partnerships we've made here recently with brands here on 365 Sports. When we come back, let's talk Mark Pope and what BYU does next. This is 365 Sports.
Looking to connect with Baylor alums in your area? Baylor alumni can help. Looking to host a watch party in your city? Baylor alumni can get you started. Want to step out in your community and serve with other alums? Baylor alumni is your connection with the university and each other. Let's get started. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Thank you for calling your local Marco's Pizza. We're turning up the heat with our new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Fresh, house-made dough is topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers. At only $5.99, this limited-time product is a hot deal. Add it to your order while you can. A Marco's team member will be with you shortly.
Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, and that offer on the Reaper Cheesy Bread is available right now at any of the 5 Marco's Pizza locations in Waco, including Belmead, China Spring, Robinson, Woodway, and Hewitt. Order online at marcos.com. Call for a pickup or delivery. Marco's Pizza is turning up the heat with their all-new Reaper Cheesy Bread with fresh, hot, house house-made dough topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers, and only $5.99 and for a limited time only. Marco's Pizza, the fastest growing pizza brand in America, 5 locations in Waco, and the new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Welcome back, 365 Sports here on your Friday. Smoking Craig off wedding duties today. Smokey told me this, Garrett. His job today is he went to play golf with Daniel and some of the groomsmen.
Okay.
Then he has to make sure that they don't do anything stupid and they get to the rehearsal dinner on time. Where do you think the flaw in Jennifer's plan is?
Having Smokey in charge of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know who else thinks that that's a flaw in the plan?
Everybody else?
Smokey.
Smokey? Okay, that's fair.
He did not think that was a good idea. He did not think it was a good idea at all, but again, the bride gets what the bride wants.
Do what you gotta do,
that's
man.
what it is. We are now joined by Jake Hatch. The Zone Sports Network covers BYU, and you can hear him on Locked On BYU as well. His podcast. Jake, always love having you on the show, and we have you via Zoom today. It's long overdue so that people can see your very handsome face and get to know you that they haven't seen you on Zoom yet before, but it's a bummer of a day for BYU in that they had a coach that really fit them well and took them into the Big 12 with their pick 13th, and they rattled their way into the tournament, and they played so well. They beat Baylor. They beat Kansas. They beat Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. They did a lot of great things, but now he's off to Kentucky. Where do they go from here?
Well, frankly, yeah, it's a bit of a bummer day for BYU, but I think all attention is shifted towards the future, because if there was one position that Mark Pope, who is a University of Kentucky alumnus, was going to chase and BYU was not going to put up much of a fight, it was the Kentucky Wildcats. So congratulations to him on getting his quote-unquote dream job. Now the attention focuses, I think, on Chris Burgess. He was one of Mark Pope's top lieutenants in Provo in his early run at BYU, and then Burgess, who is a Utah alum, went and joined Craig Smith's staff at the University of Utah for the past 2 seasons, with Mark Madsen putting out a statement this morning that essentially said, I'm committed to doing what I'm doing at Cal. I think that all eyes right now look at Chris Burgess and the chance that he ends up coming back south 40 miles to Provo to be the head coach to replace Mark Pope.
Did they, because they want their coaches to be LDS, do they not necessarily cast as wide a net as normally a school would?
Yeah, they have a pretty limited pool, frankly. And I put together a list of guys. I was trying to think of anybody I could think of that had connections to the university. And as you mentioned, were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is a prerequisite. I know it's an unwritten rule, but it's a prerequisite all the same for BYU coaches. And I essentially came up with a list. If I really stretched it out to about 10 guys, that is about as deep the pool goes for BYU to have realistic options for their head coaching position. The nice part is, as I mentioned, a guy like Chris Burgess, he's worked at BYU. He's a member of the LDS faith, so he understands the whole dynamic of how things work inside the university and the basketball program, and it seems like a pretty natural fit to slot him in. But if they have to go deeper than that, there are other options out there. But yeah, it's not your typical coaching search where you may have 20, 30, 50, 100 guys that could be in the mix.
They went down the road with Mark Madsen before, right?
They did. They've explored Mark Madsen in the past as well, and he is a guy that took over from Mark Pope when Mark took the job at BYU. Mark replacing Mark, kind of funny, but Madsen did a very, very good job at UVU. And we had so many people out here in Utah last year when Jared Haas. Mark Madsen is a Stanford alum, for those people who don't know, a very proud Stanford alum. And when there were rumors about Jared Haas last year potentially being fired, we had a slew of people tell us that, hey, watch out for Mark Madsen taking over at Stanford. Stanford, for inexplicable reasons, decided to hold on to Jared Haas for another year and ultimately fired him I guess last month, I should say. And I don't know why, but the Cal Bears swooped in and scooped him up. Mark Madsen is living near his hometown out there in Northern California, and apparently is very much enjoying life. And it appears that he is set to stay put with Cal. And I'm sure BYU would have liked to explore maybe a little further down the road with him to see if he was interested in taking this job. But as it stands right now, it appears that he is going to pass on that opportunity.
Do you feel that the transfer portal is about to get more full of BYU players?
Well, as of you and I talking, I think their two most indispensable pieces have already entered the portal. Ali Khalifa, the big man, who's a poor man's Nikola Jokic with his passing ability, he's entered the transfer portal, and I'd expect he's a guy that's a very likely candidate to follow Mark Pope to Kentucky. And then Dallin Hall, their star point guard, a guy that I thought was an indispensable piece this past year. They frankly, when he was off the court, they struggled mightily without his direction, his ability to really run their sets on offense. He's entered the transfer portal. And I feel like it's just kind of the quote unquote tip of the iceberg for this program. I'm expecting a pretty large number of those guys on that roster enter the portal. Now, are they entering the portal to follow Pope to Kentucky? That's to be determined. I think a lot of them may be just going into the portal, as most guys probably should in the circumstance of the coaching search, to see what the options are out there and then reevaluate once BYU locks in on who their next head coach is going to be.
How long do you think that Tom Holmoe will take in this search?
I think Tom Holmoe would like to have it wrapped up as soon as humanly possible. I would like, personally, I'd like to see him have it done by Monday, because I think a guy Chris Burgess could be locked in as quickly as that. But the bigger issue is, with BYU being a faith-based institution, they are governed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints church hierarchy. So that goes all the way up to church leadership in Salt Lake City. They're going to have to sign off on whoever might get hired. And in the past, Paul, the situation has been that a lot of those parties that seem to have an influence on decisions of this magnitude can slow things down. Kalani Sitake was a guy that BYU zeroed in on when he was hired 8+ years ago as BYU's head coach. It took nearly a month to finally get him signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, in that era, you didn't have the transfer portal, you didn't have NIL, which I think have absolutely revolutionized how quickly you need to move on this. So I would hope that BYU can move quickly and have somebody secured by midweek next week at the very latest.
Because of that factor, I mean, it's almost like, again, like they could, I mean, obviously it's not a prerequisite to hire somebody who's a member of the church, but given the missions and all the different things, is it one of those things where, look, you really, like, maybe need to, like, you can't really write it in, but you kind of have to have that unwritten rule because you need somebody who understands what all these kids are going through and doing?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. There have been two assistants. So Dave Rice, who had been a college coach all over the country, was the head coach at UNLV for a time. He was Dave Rose, who's BYU's former head coach before Mark Pope took over. He was his top lieutenant. He was not a member of the LDS faith, but there was a time when Dave Rose was undergoing surgery and treatment for pancreatic cancer that Dave Rice was elevated to the interim head coaching position. Now, this was in the off season, so it wasn't necessarily as highlighted as it should have been, but Dave Rice understood exactly what BYU stood for, even as a guy who was not a member of the faith. Mark Pope, one of his top lieutenants this past season, has been with him his entire run at BYU, was Cody Fugger. And now Fugger is not a member of the LDS faith either, but he's got 10 plus years of working in and around BYU. And I think if BYU were ever to break the mold and go outside of the faith to hire a coach, a guy like Cody Fugger would be that option. But based on what I have heard in the last little bit, it sounds like Coach Fugger is going to be joining Mark Pope in Lexington if everything goes well.
All right, Jake, let's talk a little football for a second here while we got you. We had Kalani Sitake on the show, was it early last week or
a couple weeks ago?
And like they're having to, start again at quarterback. They're having to do a lot of things. How do you feel year 2 in the Big 12 is setting up for them depth-wise in the way that this roster has been reshuffled again?
Well, the roster to me overall, I think, has been upgraded. I think they've done a better job about getting as quality a depth as they can. That's still going to be an ongoing issue for BYU. It's going to take some time to really build up what I think is a quote unquote power 4 level depth for BYU. But I think they've done a good job across the board at trying to build that up. There is one glaring issue you already mentioned. They're starting over at quarterback here. Is it going to be the former Baylor Bear, Gary Bohannon? Is it going to be the incumbent Jake Retzloff? That quarterback battle is very much ongoing. It will go on throughout the summer and it will go on into training camp. And I don't have necessarily a great feel for who I think is in the lead, but my gut tells me it'll be Jake Retzloff who ultimately wins the job. But considering he went 0-4 as BYU starter last year, that does not engender much confidence in BYU because this program needs high-level quarterback play if they want to succeed year 2 in the Big 12.
Do you think, the wide zones and offense that Gary Bohannon ran well for a year at Baylor until he kind of got banged up, and the Sugar Bowl was. I even said to people like during the game, like Baylor's going to win this game when their quarterback plays his way to being a wide receiver or a tight end, but he still played at quarterback. He's still been there. Is his athleticism something that they're going to have to take advantage of?
Yeah, if he ends up winning the job, they will absolutely take advantage of it. That's the one thing that they have talked about, speaking of Aaron Roderick and the other coaches on the offensive side of the football. Gary is a very, very good athlete, and we had a chance to catch up with him when spring camp wrapped up, and we sat down with him. It was myself and a couple other reporters, and he kind of essentially asked him to lay out why he is still playing football, and he laid out that he had it ripped away from him with that shoulder injury he suffered at USF. He said he didn't throw a football for 6 months, and all he wanted to do was to finish his college career on a high note. And that's why he ultimately opted to go to BYU. Now, a big reason why he picked BYU is, as you mentioned, that wide zone offense. Jeff Grimes, who installed that at Baylor and ran it with Gary, he helped Aaron Roderick. Those two together built this offense at BYU. So the base, the nuts and bolts of this offense are the exact same as what Gary had been running at Baylor. So he felt very comfortable coming in. He's had to learn some new terminology and a few different things about how Aaron Roderick runs his offense. But the nice part was he didn't have to come in and learn this offense from scratch. He's able to step in right away and compete for that starting job the second he stepped on campus.
Jake Hatch, always available when we need him. Jake, I love having you on the show. I love the backdrop, by the way. Did you have the neon light? Because we're always looking to change things and steal ideas from people. Did you have that neon light made?
So my wife found it, of all things. I think she found it on the internet somewhere, and she surprised me with it for my birthday a couple of years ago. And if you want a lead on it, I will be sure to ask her and pass it along to you.
Yeah, that looks. Garrett, do you like that?
I like that a lot. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, we might need a 365 Sports neon light. Yeah, look, they're at Locked On Cougars. See, golly, that's sharp. That's sharp. I like the look. It gives a nice vibe. Yep. Emory will go to a bar and steal a random neon for us, but I don't think that's going to be. I don't think this is going to be as effective.
If you can make off with one, hey, do your thing. I'm not judging. I'll say that.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, what do you think about Salt Lake City getting the hockey team?
Ecstatic. I am frankly ecstatic. I will say this. I am still not necessarily the most well-versed guy in terms of my overall hockey knowledge, but I can tell you this much. Salt Lake City has been dying for more pro sports in this market. There's obviously the talk about an MLB franchise down the road when Major League Baseball decides to expand. That's probably not happening until the 2030s, but Ryan Smith, the owner of the Utah Jazz, it looks like he is going to make this happen, and it could be happening very, very quickly if some of the reports are to be believed about the Arizona Coyotes and their struggles about securing a home for themselves. So it's crazy to consider that coming up this October that Salt Lake City could be hosting NHL hockey, but I am all for it. I would love to have it here in Utah.
Would it just be right there where the Jazz play at the arena?
Yeah, essentially the promise between Ryan Smith and NHL is that they would play in the Delta Center where the Utah Jazz play. The sight lines for the Delta Center are not great for hockey. Frankly, it was built as a purpose-built basketball and music venue. So there'd have to be some concessions made on changing the configuration of the seating there and everything. Like I said, the sightlines aren't great, but in the short term, just the fact you can get hockey here, you make do with what you got. And then obviously the state legislature up here in Utah has earmarked more than $1 billion in terms of potential money to go towards a public-private partnership to build a new arena for hockey and the Utah Jazz. So it looks like all signs are very positive about hockey coming to Utah.
Wow. That's wild. That's just wild. Well, Jake, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great day.
All right, you too. There we go. Look at all these Zooms we've got today. We have one more coming up. We have one more coming up with Josh Neighbors, who I can't wait to hear his thoughts on Baylor keeping Drew and the Big 12 being the Kentucky's
where they went
orchard to pick their coach, so to speak. We'll have Art Strickland next. I believe he's in Augusta. He usually goes every year. And why wouldn't you if you could?
Oh, I would definitely go if I could.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Salt Lake City getting a hockey? I personally I hate it for Arizona. Yeah. I think they should put that franchise, if they want to move it, in Kansas City. I think Kansas City would be an excellent spot for an NHL team.
Here's the thing. I think Kansas City wants an NBA team
first.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Emery's gonna smirk and laugh at me, but I know some people in Kansas City that it drives them absolutely up the wall that the Thunder are there and not in Kansas City. Up the wall.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, just because they had the Kings.
They did. Yes, they did.
They had the Kings.
Yeah.
They were the Kansas City Kings, and then now they're the Sacramento Kings.
Which that was a terrible deal.
I mean, when I was a kid, I used to live around Sacramento, and I remember really nothing about it. I remember our house. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about Sacramento past our house. Mm-hmm. Like, we had a backyard that I rather enjoyed. The most trouble, I think this is the first time I remember getting in trouble. Before they put the grass down in our yard. Because my parents had the house built and we moved in. The backyard was just all dirt. And here's my memory, and it was in Rockland, which is near Sacramento. I took the hose and I made a gigantic mud pit and just ran around in it. And my mother, and then I just came in the house. And then, like a hippie at Woodstock 98 or 95.
Just being a local, man.
Yeah, I was just living it up, being a 5-year-old kid. And she just lost her mind. The carpet. Well, I was happy.
Exactly. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
A little mud ain't hard enough.
Yeah, no. Then they unscrewed the hose. So I was kind of befuddled. Like this is hard to do. But I got into trouble then. But yeah, I don't remember, I don't know. It's just that Sacramento, there's a couple of cities doesn't feel to me like they should have a professional basketball team. Like Seattle is going to get one back.
They should.
After Oklahoma City stole it from them, which Emery's fine with.
He is very fine with it.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think it's weird that the Coyotes, like, everything else has worked in Phoenix.
I know.
Baseball's worked, basketball's worked, football's worked. Although they do have a bit of a problem with football ownership. But football's worked there.
Yeah, it has.
So the Bidwells are not the best.
No.
And that's an understatement. But
yes, putting it nicely.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to check in at Augusta with Art Strickland. Then at 5 o'clock, Josh Neighbors. And then the top 5 after that. So we are over halfway done with this show. And then on to the weekend that I will spend in Tyler, Texas. This is 365 Sports.
Our good friend Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jewelers here at 365 Sports. Now, Brad, people who watch and listen to our show know I'm a double-time customer for you, engagement ring and wedding band, and you guys do that great, but that's not all you do at Boozer's Jewelers.
Absolutely, and I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer's Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
Pioneer Steel and Pipe opened their doors in 1943, and they have never wavered with their focus on great product and customer service, relationships with a handshake, making sure you, the customer, is satisfied. Their new facility is now twice the size, allowing new inventory, higher quantities, and in a much more organized fashion. In addition to the long lengths in tubing, angles, channels, rods, and flat, Pioneer Steel and Pipe now offers several shorter, more convenient lengths of material already cut. Their 2,500 square foot showroom has over 1,000 new products in stock, new welding supplies, hardware, quickcrete, and do-it-yourself components for any project, whether you are a professional contractor or weekend warrior. The new facility is designed to make your loading experience faster and more efficient with easy drive lanes around the building and much more room to get your trailer loaded. Our location may have changed, but our values haven't, and our relationship with customers goes much farther than just business. Pioneer Steel and Pipe on Loop 340 and Highway 6 and just east of I-35 in Waco.
Allen Samuels House of Travel is a full-service travel agency with highly experienced travel consultants plus support staff with over a combined 150 years in the travel business. They are ready to take care of any travel situation for you, your family, and your business, and with the kind of knowledge to complete a seamless itinerary trip start to finish. They will search for the best deal to accommodate your budget from air to cars, ship to shore, hotel, and even meeting space. Name a destination and they've been there. They know the places to go, and international and missionary travel is one of their unique specialties. Allen Samuels House of Travel, celebrating 50 years in business. Call Connie, Sherry, Linda, or Bambi at 254-776-2560 or find them on Facebook or at houseoftravelwaco.com.
This is Craig Smokes Off the Radar.
Just get out of it. I did it again.
It happens.
All right, it's over now. I'm going to give Emery just 1 second to of video time to be able to cut that out when we put this segment up online. So, a moment of silence. There we go. That's long enough. And Art Strickland, who is live from Augusta, brought to you by golfpartnerusa.com. Art, Bryson DeChambeau jumped out to a great start yesterday. Today, the course has been unforgiving. Do you expect him to be able to maintain and hang with Scotty Scheffler as we get into the weekend?
I wouldn't put my life savings on that. Paul, I think that what Bryson proved when he won at Winged Foot at the U.S. Open about 2 years ago is that when he is going good, the way he hits the ball, the way he puts chips, he's unstoppable. But with Bryson, it can go south in a hurry. It really can. And every hole at Augusta, anybody who's either watched it on TV or been here in person knows that there's a disaster working at every hole. So really like where Scotty is, I think that Scotty's in a great spot. And, he was the favorite going in. I don't see anything derailing that now. But Bryson, if he keeps it up and he can avoid disasters, he's got physical tools that can make this an unfair fight. And so, but great leaderboard. We saw some vintage Tiger Woods scrambling today. I mean, fact that he grinded it out and, set an all-time Masters record for most number of cuts in a row made. Really a fun week and a fun day at Augusta, but man, is it windy out here. I mean, really windy.
Who do you think it has eaten up the most today, the wind?
Jordan Spieth, for one.
Yeah.
I mean, he makes a 9. He starts out with a double bogey on the first hole. He makes a 9. Perfected one of my shots, hit it over the green, and then chipped back into the water from the other side of the green, which, I perfected that shot, and he did it. So, Jordan Spieth, for one, I think that people expected more from Brian Harmon, British Open champ. Shot 47 on the back nine, another one of my perfected moves. And so, tough out there. But really, at Augusta, the greens are so fast, and there's so much trouble out here. There is a disaster at every hole. And so that's why, Bryson may win it. He's got the physical tools, obviously, to win it. But don't be measuring him for a green jacket just yet.
Max Homa is playing very, very well. And he's someone I'm curious to see in the last couple of days at a major because he's not easily frazzled. He's kind of a happy-go-lucky dude. And look, he's going, with the guys he's going to have to be playing with the next couple of days, it's going to be tough. But what do you think about Max and what he's done these couple of days?
Well, I think you're right. I think he's got the good attitude for the Masters. This is a career changer. I remember I once asked Fuzzy Zeller at Oak Hills Country Club. He was there for a championship event. He won the U.S. Open. He had won the Masters. I said, Fuzzy, which one of those two majors is the best one to win? And since you're on the air and I don't want you to lose your license, I'm going to clean this up for you. He said, are you kidding me? The Masters is the golden ticket. No one even remembers who won the U.S. Open. So certainly this would be a career changer for Max Homa. But I agree with you. Good mentality, doesn't get too rattled, not prone to the big numbers or anything. So certainly Max could, be there at the beginning. But, Scotty's playing so good right now, and he's won here before, which is a huge advantage. And I really thought that Jordan Spieth would, be helped by winning here again. He has 5 top 5 finishes, 5. And now he's on an airplane headed back to Dallas right now, and I'm still here.
Yeah, obviously did it just get in his head early, and then you can't claw out of that?
I think so. And, his problem over the last 6 months has been he cannot find the fairway with his driver. He almost has what they kind of refer to as the driving yips. He just has a hard time finding the fairway. He can scramble from anything. I think people saw, last week at the Texas Open, he hit it on the roof of the clubhouse at TPC San Antonio. He still got up and down from there, but at Augusta, you just can't do that. There's such a premium on accuracy here. You gotta find a fairway. Jordan just can't do that, and that makes him a bad guy. That just means he's got free time on the weekend this weekend.
Yeah. Scotty Scheffler, another Dallas guy, like we talked about, he's playing so well. What do you think has been the change the last 2 years in his game where he's been able to especially walk into any tournament and dominate it, but particularly the majors where he is just so locked in?
Well, I think a couple of things. One, confidence. Confidence is key. winning the Masters the way he did a couple years ago, working with Randy Smith, who is a Royal Country Club in Dallas. Randy's worked with Scotty, he's worked with Justin Leonard. He knows what great players should look like. And so he had the confidence working with Randy Smith. And then the fact that, he's putting, if he puts even average, he's going to win. His driving is so on point. Kind of the opposite, Jordan Spieth, that his driving is just remarkable. And, hit 15 fairways around. And so if you even put average and you hit that many fairways, you're going to win in. He's won here before, which is a huge advantage. VB Singh made the cut today. He won in 2001. He made the cut. Winning here before and knowing how to do it is so key. And so that's what I really think the three things has given, Scotty really a leg up going in. Plus, he's a nice guy and he doesn't get rattled. Randy Smith told me, he said he is a low thumper, Art. That means he has a low heartbeat. And if you watch Scotty Scheffler, you watch him on TV tomorrow, very hard to tell whether he just made bogey, birdie, 3 in a row, 2 straight, just has that same kind of placid, expression, but that helps you a lot out here.
All right, Art, what is your go-to, like you're there for a couple days, how many pimento cheese sandwiches or egg salad sandwiches? What's your Augusta menu?
Yeah, it's egg salad all day and every day for me. I had 3 yesterday, and including one for breakfast. And as the thing goes, there may be a lot wrong with America these days, but when you can have an egg salad sandwich for breakfast at Augusta National, and then have a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich to top off your lunch with a few cheese straws thrown in there, you're doing something right. So egg salad, cheese straws, and what a Georgia peach ice cream sandwich to finish it off. You've got the makings of a great day.
There you go, Art. And look, you can actually sleep while you're there because Scott Drew's not leaving.
Yeah, good job on that for not letting him go. And, he doesn't play golf, but a lot of fishing holes in Waco, and there's only bourbon holes in Kentucky. So I think you made the right choice.
Yeah. All right, Art. Enjoy Augusta. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it, and it's always good to be with you guys. And just remember, I've got 6 guys here that I'm hosting on a trip.
Oh, the Art of Golf.
Art of Golf Travel.
Yeah, Art of Golf Travel. Art of Golf Travel. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I forgot that, Art. Thank you so much. Art. All right, Art Strickland there. Yes, so you can go on these trips. Art Strickland, if you want to.
That'd be pretty awesome, honestly.
I know. He's never invited us before, though. We'll have to fix.
You got to fix that, Paul.
I'll just tell you right now. If we go to the Masters, we will not do shows. We might do a show.
Just sit back and enjoy.
I'm not gonna. No.
How many? I know you're a pimento cheese guy. How many pimento cheese are you gonna polish off in a day there?
Oh, look, I'm also an egg salad guy. Like I would alternate.
Okay.
I would alternate.
Okay.
I would alternate. I love pimento cheese. I love egg salad. I made Easter is one of my favorite times of the year because we do eggs, and then I take those eggs and I make deviled eggs and egg salad with them. And just boiled it. Like I'm an egg guy.
I'm down with deviled eggs. The egg salad I need to get into because it's pretty much just a deviled egg.
Here's the deal.
That's all it is.
If you can make I make the egg salad basically the same with the same thing I make the deviled eggs. It's just chopped and not, dainty.
Yes.
So you know what I love? Here's the thing. Hipsters are good for some things but not others.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I'm happy that hipsters have brought about, Emery rolled his eyes at me. Emery rolled his eyes. Here's what look, there are things that none of us normals ever thought about, but hipsters love that one thing so much that they've created a whole subgenres of deviled eggs or ice creams or iced tea, like weird stuff you never thought of that are delicious.
Yes.
But I never would have thought like, oh, let's put this in a deviled egg and see how it is. So I love being able to go to a place and they're like, oh, this is a candied bacon deviled egg. And I'm like, say less.
See, I'm weird about that. Like I've tried to make some, it was a couple of years ago for Thanksgiving, I think. I tried to make like the avocado ones and it did not pair well with me.
Yeah.
So I'm just strictly I want some OG deviled eggs, nothing fancy.
Oh, look, there's a, where was I? Oh, I don't think I was here in town. But there's a place in town that had some good ones that were a little bit different. But yeah, no, I love a good deviled egg. I don't it doesn't take much to entertain me.
Right. You're a simple man.
Well, listen, again, that's why I think that I would enjoy the Masters when it's like, you don't have to what are we doing for lunch? What is this or you know what? I'm feeling pimento for lunch.
Right.
And tomorrow I'll have egg salad. If you're there for a couple of days, sometimes you're not. You get the one day. Like I know people who stay the whole weekend because you can't.
Man, that's no
because you
way.
have to.
How do you afford
but
that?
You can only go. Well, the houses are not as bad because you basically you rent a house and split it up.
Okay.
They've been doing Airbnbs in Augusta before Airbnb was
right.
a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, because you can't you win the lottery. You can either get all passes. I've had friends that go Wednesday and Thursday because they had the Wednesday practice round or par 3 passes or Thursday, or they got Wednesday and Saturday. So then Thursday and Friday they go do something else.
Right, yeah, just split it all. Yeah,
this is how it is. Or you can get it's not a cheap trip to Augusta, nor should it be. You got to keep the grass
pristine.
Yeah, I mean it's got to look that way. Here's the thing about Augusta: it has to look that way all year.
Yeah.
They can't. There are courses, other places listen, if you come here and play, we're going to be open, but it's going to look like crap. Augusta has to look Masters ready every day. Every day. And that's because they have the members that are, paying for that.
Right, yeah.
That's what they do. And it's not, it's not like you just apply and they go, oh, you got $49.95 a month. Let's come on. No, that's not how it works at Augusta. In fact, I don't think you can just ask to apply. I think they
probably not.
Offer
There's probably a waiting list for years on end.
Yes, they offer it to you. Yes, years. Yes,
like the Packers tickets. That's what I'm thinking of.
It's more exclusive than even that, for sure. When we come back, Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch, talks a crazy week in the Big 12 because Kentucky was trying to poach coaches and got one. This is 365 Sports.
It's Dodge Power Shot Days at Allen Samuels in Waco. Experience the adrenaline-pumping performance and cutting-edge technology of Dodge. From the sleek and stylish 2023 Charger to the performance and muscle of a Challenger to the bold and rugged Durango. During Dodge Power Shot Days, we're offering amazing deals and special incentives that will make driving a new Dodge even more exhilarating. Don't miss out on these exclusive savings. Visit Allen Samuels in Waco today and unleash the power of Dodge.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Are you ready to elevate your Waco experience to a whole new level? Look no further than the Baylor Club, where you can indulge in one-of-a-kind luxury and unwind in our exclusive lounge area. Located in the heart of McLean Stadium, this elite club offers 5-star member atmosphere for all your work and play needs. With a master culinary team and outstanding hospitality, we take pampering to a whole new level. Weddings, milestones, businesses, and birthdays. A stadium roaring with Bear spirit featuring stunning city skyline views. The Baylor Club truly has it all. The Baylor Club is the destination for Baylor basketball pregame meals, beverages with this special membership offer. If you mention Sikkim 365 or 365 Sports Radio, just ask for John or Devin for details. For interest in membership or your next private event, call 254-710-8080 or Google Baylor Club Linktree for more information on menus, calendars, upcoming special events. Say yes to the Baylor Club today. 254-710-8080 or Google Baylor Club Linktree.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Alongside Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch. Last week we did the collab. This week he's just back on here, and it's because, especially when I'm solo, I like having Josh as a foil across the way to exchange thoughts and ideas, like in the salon of high-level discussion that we have.
High level
discussion. Josh, it was a wild week in the Big 12 when it came to coaching searches, and not because they had one. Now they do with Mark Pope leaving, but because Kentucky came after Scott Drew. He said no, and then they responded by going to one of their own, who was at BYU, and Mark Pope. What are your thoughts on Big Blue Nation and poaching a Big 12 coach and what that means for them going forward?
It's funny. So also, thank you for having me on, as always. So I was talking to our guy, Grayson Grunhafer, earlier today, and we were talking about Scott Drew turning down the job. And how really it signaled there's a big change in college basketball now. And I'm not sure if there's ever like a difference, but like this is a big coach movement moment. And it's funny. It was all started by Rob Lanier getting fired at Southern Methodist, because at that point, Eric Musselman goes to USC. Then John Calipari goes to Kentucky. And now Mark Pope, and all the while, it's a big story out of all this too, is the coaches who are not moving, right? Beard is courted by Arkansas, decides not to go. Jerome Tang, courted by Arkansas, decides not to go. Will Wade might have been contacted as well until the chicken man, John Tyson, stepped up and got Cal to Arkansas. Then you've got Kentucky, who gets a no from Hurley. Then you got Kentucky, who gets a no from Scott Drew. And it's funny because, it's once again, somebody's in Arkansas. The number 3 option, like it was basically, we heard Will Wade was contacted. We heard no from, no from Beard, no from Tang. Cal's the coach. And then Kentucky goes, no from Hurley, no from Drew. Mark Pope's the coach. So it was like the third one just kind of came out of nowhere. And it's this era now where guys are more willing to stay, or in Cal's case, guys are willing to leave if the price and the situation is correct. But mostly staying. Guys are more willing to stay. Yeah. Beard at Ole Miss is odd, right? Tang with the issues he had with the folks up top at K-State. Kind of weird that he's staying, right? And so it's it's kind of and look, I even say, hey, I'm surprised Scott Drew stayed, because if anybody would stay, it'd be him. But Kentucky is the basketball job. It is the college basketball job, full stop. Duke and Carolina are two kind of up their own you-know-whats. Kentucky is a large state school, middle of the country with great tradition, amazing arena, all of that stuff, and the cachet and all those things that speaks to a wide range of people. And it's the job, and Scott Drew said no.
Yeah, part of it, though, like, the part of the reason I think guys are willing to stay, like, look, Scott Drew here, there are 2, as far as I know, Baylor message boards. ours and another one. And I've never heard anybody say anything like about him or his family in any kind of way other than like early on when they couldn't win, they get upset in the tournament. People are like, oh, this is Drew, and they kind of complain, but they never took shots. Big Blue Nation's a different thing altogether. Like there's so many of them. They kind of like the crazies are able to hide amongst the normies.
A pack of rabid dogs.
Yes, and so here's what all you need to know is that the guy who's coming there is a guy who helped them win a national title as a player in 1996, and they feel that that's good, but that's all you were good for right now, and we're mad that you're here.
Yes. So, because, I was talking with Grayson about this too. If you were to tell me that Kentucky hired a Big 12 coach and you said, give me a list as a combo of who they target and who you think would be good there. I know he played there, but Mark Pope would maybe not be in my top 5. I would have been more honestly like, hey, Bill Self's like, I need a change. I'd be like, okay, but like, no, you don't. But also, okay, I guess I get it. Now his contract probably wouldn't make that happen. Scott Drew would. I mean, I would not have been shocked if Jerome Tang once again. Like I know it'd be kind of weird, different, but I mean, he'd be a guy. T.J. Otzelberger with how good he has been. If Kelvin Sampson said, you know what? I'm old as hell, but he's honestly at the top of his game. I mean, Kelvin Sampson's never been, I think, like in terms of year to year to year, and this year sucks what happened, but like year to year to year, man, is he on a roll right now. Unlike we've seen him. Did he win a national championship? I don't remember. Did he win in Indiana?
No.
Yeah, he didn't. Right, so this is top of his game. I'd say all those guys before I got to Mark Pope. So
you know who I thought like would fit there, who I think would fit there and do well is Jamie Dixon. I mean,
yeah, I think those fans would have much like Mark Pope gotten mad at the lack of success because
personality wise,
he's a floor elevator. He's a floor elevator for sure. Dixon is.
Yeah, like he's just personality wise someone who I think would fit like there. And I think Kentucky and I think Mark Pope will bring. I mean, the offense they'll like it there and. We'll see how it goes. You can recruit to Kentucky no problem if you know how to recruit at all, even at like a rudimentary level, because it's Kentucky, and he's far above that. I do think though that you said Will Wade mentioned for the Arkansas job. I think Kentucky missed out by not at least kicking the tires on that, and part of it I think is Mitch Barnhart wanted someone that was so different than Scott Drew that Will Wade disqualified himself by being Will Wade.
Well, it's interesting. So Chris Beard has this non-compete that I think keeps people from, it sounds like it might have kept him in the Arkansas job. Will Wade, and this is all backstage talk, but I've heard so much of it. There's almost an edict from Greg Sankey not to hire Will Wade. Mm-hmm. He's basically do not touch this guy. I think, look, I don't think Will Wade's made many friends in the old biz when it comes to administration. I actually think other coaches like him a lot.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he's made a ton of friends.
Yeah.
And so, you look at the guy, the guy can coach, can coach his ass off. The funny thing is, what he got in trouble for is now technically legal. I mean, now it's, allowed. He wouldn't have to be on the phone anymore working the call. He could have somebody else be doing that for him. So, yeah, it's kind of weird that Will Wade didn't get as many looks because, the guy is just a tremendous coach. He wins everywhere he goes, basically. So it was strange about that. But it's been such a, and honestly, Paul, this basketball coaching off season kind of became a little bit what football's coaching off season has been. It was just as interesting. We had this all happening simultaneous to UConn going back to back. It felt like almost a 2023 era where coaches were being circulated around. But it was like, well, we know Georgia's about to win this thing again. So, we're not really too worried about what Georgia's going to do. They're going to win it. But let's talk about the coaching more. The coaching carousel has been really exciting. It's been a really electric, exciting coaching carousel that includes some surprise stayers and some surprise movers. So I appreciate all of that.
All right, let's talk about those in the Big 12 in particular. West Virginia and Oklahoma State both had to get new coaches. Mike Boynton is now an assistant at Michigan, and then he's going to take assistant at Michigan to head coach at a place like, Georgia Southern or something.
No, Paul, we're going to manifest this. Darian DeVries gets hired somewhere else, and he goes to West Virginia. Let's get Mike Boynton back in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Because we all love him so much.
Yeah.
Or UCF, that they fired Johnny Dawkins or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to manifest here.
Yeah, he's a really good coach. His situation was not his doing. It was not. And you and I talked last week about Bob Huggins, and that's a unique situation unto itself. But DeVries at West Virginia, and is it Pat Kelsey at Oklahoma State? Why am I blanking?
No, it's what's his name? Steve Lutz. Right?
Steve Lutz.
Yeah.
Steve Lutz.
Yeah. It's fine.
So what do you? I'm disappointed in myself. Pat Kelsey left Charleston.
He's at
Louisville. Yeah, there were so many. And then this week, I spent 72 hours going, I don't know what my life is going to be like after.
Well, in portal for basketball, it's about to be portal for football. So buckle up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think about those two hires in particular?
Yes, so I love DeVries for West Virginia. That's a strong one. You kind of go, same region, right? I mean, and if you watch Drake play, really just strong team concepts. And I enjoyed watching them. And the guy is from Iowa, right? He was, he went to Northern Iowa, Creighton, Drake, West Virginia. West Virginia, look, it's East. If you've ever driven there, it's kind of East, it's East Coast adjacent in the mountains. It's one of those almost, but it's near Pittsburgh and stuff. So I think people forget the state of West Virginia is, it touches Maryland. Right. And, it's part of it's an East Coast state, part of it's almost a Midwest state. So he's from that region, which is, it's always nice to have a guy from the area. He's another guy, he's below 50. Right. So it's good to have a guy who's that age. He's won an NCAA tournament game, which, hey, Mark Pope can't say. Never lost more or never won, or, he won more than 20 games every single year. Right. And so back-to-back tournaments, this guy's used to winning. Now, here's the thing. Every Big 12 coach we get, I'm trying to think if there's been a situation where we've had a Big 12 coach come in who was not, I guess maybe Scott Drew a bit. A lot of these guys are used to winning, right? Even Jerome Tang as an assistant was used to winning. So you're going to get these guys, if you get a Big 12 job, you've most likely won somewhere else. But this team's played really good quality basketball. They are always really well built, and they've been well constructed, and they're consistently winners. I'm wondering if he gets a bump and what kind of player he can get. But here's the thing. I actually think a lot of even if they don't step up in talent a ton, even if they took the Raekwon Battle type caliber players and put them on his team, I think they still do really well. Mm-hmm. So I actually don't know if they need a Matt. Hey, could he take that same team to the Big 12 and do well? No, probably not. He could take that same team as well. We saw BYU take a group of mostly guys who were BYU players before and then do pretty well. So if you bump recruiting just a little bit, I still think they'll do pretty well. I'm a little bit more skeptical on Steve Lutz just because where the program is. He's been all over the place though. This is a guy, he's in the Texas footprint, so that's nice to have. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and Greg McDermott guy too. He spent time there, and so he's been all over the place. Corpus Christi, Western Kentucky. Another guy's won a tournament game too. And also another guy's 51 years old. So I'm not familiar as much with this play style. I know I watched a couple of those Corpus teams play in their early games of the tournament, I felt like. And I felt like they were always kind of funnish to watch. So we'll see. I don't know as much about Lutz, but DeVries I'm really excited about because I like the quality of ball they play. It's fun it's at least me entertaining from a not just up and down scoring type deal, but still very, fun to watch.
Yeah. You know who I'm surprised has not gotten a call yet? On one of these big jobs is Bucky McMillan from Samford. They are fun. They're fun to watch. And if you do what he does and you bring that to a major conference, to me, I think that would create a ton of problems.
So the interesting thing about these scorum teams, and it's a good point because I think the guy is 40 years old. So it's really exciting to watch. But what we see in the Big 12 and what you see with UConn, defense, right? Like, what was Kentucky's big problem? They couldn't defend anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody had a more talented backcourt, though. And they were bringing Reed Shepherd. I saw Reed Shepherd today, by the way, who's considering, he's made contact with Mark Pope, considering coming back. Yeah, we'll see about that. But, Antonio Reeves, Rob Dillingham. DJ Wagner was one of their worst guards, and the guy was, like one of the best recruits in the country. So when you get these scorum teams, your concern is, all right, where does the defense come into play? And even Baylor, to some extent, like you could argue the reason why they have not been as successful in the tournament since the championship is because the defensive side of things has not been up to snuff. It's hard to be an elite defensive team, but you saw this year at Houston. What did they do? What they hang their hat on? It was their defense. UConn, look, they let Zach Edey eat, sure, but like they just sped the game up and made life miserable for Purdue. And, they were able to play that style and affect it on both sides. And that's what these great teams can do, is affect that style on both ends. So the one question I think a lot of these coaches or a lot of these basketball ADs, when they consult other people, because basketball and football you want to consult, but like really basketball, if we're talking about play style, you got to consult some folks about who know ball. And it to me is a challenge when you get the up and down teams, just because teaching guys to score is easy. Teaching guys to stop people collectively is really challenging. It is incredibly challenging. And that's what that Baylor team did well. That's what that Chris Beard Texas Tech team did that made the championship. That's what UVA Tony Bennett team did that won the championship. That's what Kansas team that won the championship did. All of these teams, what do they have in common? Really elite defense. Elite, and you have to score too, but like the protecting the rim and stopping teams is really what stands out. That's why Alabama, as fun as it was a great run. At the end of the day, like they couldn't stop anybody, and that cost them multiple times this year.
Josh, you live in Arkansas. Coach Cal is there, rolling out the red carpet for him. How effective do you think he'll be early on there for the Hogs?
I don't know how we got here. I just don't, like, this was bananas to me. Seeing him in red, there's a video of him practicing calling the Hogs, although he didn't do it as an introductory press conference. And I'll tell you what, Paul, we talked about the hire, but we got more calls this week on the radio about whether or not and why Coach Cal didn't do the hog call at his introductory press conference. That's what we care about in SEC country, brother. Look, John Tyson, the head of Tyson's Chicken, for those of you who don't know, so buy the Dino Nuggets if you want to support Smart Market Sell Athletics. He dropped the bag for this. I think he was in conversation. He and Cal have been friends for a while, and this is not the first time that he tried to get Cal to Arkansas. And I think it worked out that they had a longer-term relationship. It worked out that Cal needed to change. It worked out that Kentucky needed to change. And it worked out that John Tyson stepping up and is going to drop the NIL war chest for basketball. I think his teams will look a lot like Kentucky teams. I love the way Cal empowers his players. I think this is a good opportunity for him to remake a roster and make a roster and think about what he needs to change to make teams better in the tournament, because he has struggled with that. But I think he will be effective because this guy has won at UMass. He won at Memphis, and he won at Kentucky. And he did not forget how to coach.
What does this mean for football that basketball got a big daddy donor to come in and get a big daddy coach if Sam Pittman doesn't get things right in a hurry?
I think it should. So it's a couple of things. The thing that stood out to me, Paul, was at the introductory press conference, they shouted out John Tyson. And I can't think of a time where I saw them say one donor, like, hey, thanks for helping make this happen. It might have been common knowledge that they helped out, but I've never seen that happen before. Mm-hmm. And I think that signals to donors at a place like Arkansas, where there's fewer higher dollar donors, that you can be that center of attention. You can get everything. And everything I've heard John Tyson's not like a look at me guy, but he'll strongly encourage things. But like there is an opportunity there to be like, hey, I want to shell out this kind of cash. But here's the opposite side of it. This is a program that is in a division with A&M, fired their coach for $70 million. Arkansas, by all accounts, did not fire theirs for roughly 12 to 15, whatever it was on Sam Pittman, because they could not get, to me is what it sounded like, they could not get donor consensus. Well, they could. It was Gus Malzahn, 100-yard check, said no thank you.
Yeah.
But actually it was smart because everybody here just loves Gus Malzahn. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like Jesus and Gus Malzahn are the two most important people in the state here. But they couldn't get consensus. And so my big thing is, it's like, look, this is not A&M where they have a bunch of high-dollar donors who are always competing. It takes one or two people to step up. And when it comes to NIL and it comes to football, like sure, you can get a war chest, but there's no guarantee that just because you pay for a great roster, a la A&M's #1 recruiting class of all time, that you can cash the check. It's harder in football. In basketball, I mean, you have a certain level of talent, man, like there's just almost a guarantee you're going to be somewhat good enough.
Yeah.
In football, it's just not there. And so I think the investment in football might get raised because it needs to. I don't know if it will for all the coaching. I'm interested to see, but I think it's interesting to think about, hey, what could a coaching hire like this do in one sport for another sport? I think it's a very fascinating thing because this is going to have an impact on Arkansas football. Yeah. And that's one of the most interesting things. And I think this could apply to other schools as well.
Yeah. Even this is the sign that they're going to go full basketball school. But I doubt that in that state. I mean,
Petrino coming back and them sucking, they might just be like, it doesn't matter. We're basketball school.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to go cheap on football.
Josh, enjoy the weekend, buddy. Josh Neighbors, Big 12 Watch, Crystal Ball, College Football channel, which is one of ours, over on YouTube. Please go like and subscribe. Watch Josh's podcast when he puts it up every day. Josh, thanks a lot, buddy.
Love you, Paul. See you next week.
Love you too, buddy. This is what it's going to do for football is going to be, I think that's the through line I want to see, because there are people who don't give a crap about basketball. They're like happy that basketball is good, but their whole thing is football. So they're going to say like, okay, you got Dino Nuggets there for
yeah. I love how I threw that in
for John Calipari. Well, what are we doing? What are we doing for a football coach?
I also wonder if having Texas and Oklahoma come back in now, if rekindling those rivalries. I know it didn't necessarily do it with A&M. They've tried and they've had some good games back and forth, but having those two come back in, I wonder if that puts more of an emphasis, and also with the Cal hire for Arkansas to go all in on football, because right now, man, they're in such a weird place because they went from being a team that could compete every once in a while in the SEC, never really make it to championships or much, but now they're an afterthought. Like they're nothing, and I know football means a lot to them in that state. That's a really proud program. But now I think it's a good point that he brings up how this is going to carry over into football, because they're going to have to do something. They're going to get completely left behind.
Yeah, they really are. They really are. When we come back, Mike Cole, you're terrible. I'll just say that. Just say it. I love it. It was hilarious. But when we come back, the top 5 college basketball jobs that could be open in 2025. This is 365 Sports.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. Top 5 jobs that could be open in 2025. This is a college basketball list. Number 5, FSU, Leonard Hamilton. This might just be me hoping for a change. Look, Leonard Hamilton's done a fantastic job at Florida State. He's been there a very long time. He's gotten them to Sweet 16s. Won the ACC tournament a few years ago. Like 2020, FSU was really gearing up to be a team that was going to be playing on the last weekend. Now, granted, they would have lost to Kansas, Baylor, or Gonzaga that year. But they were just on a tear. They had maybe the best team he's ever put together. In the subsequent years, it's just gone down and down and down. As the transfer portal, NIL, and all that, he's not against it, and he's used it. It's just not hitting anymore. There in Tallahassee. Now, part of the problem I do think is they don't have a dedicated basketball arena. They play in the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center, which I've never been a fan of as a sports venue.
Is that even on campus? Kinda.
Yes. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's just off. Like, it's not. I would compare it to. I mean, it's like. It's not even, It's negligible. Okay. It's not anywhere you most of the kids in the dorms can walk to a game, but I don't think that happens most places anyway.
Yeah.
They have buses and stuff that run to it, so it's not like a huge deal. But I just think that they're, and especially if they're going to change conferences, that they've got to maybe make a move and double down on the basketball program. It's just, he's been there a long time, and that's great. He's been there since I was in college. So
yeah, it's probably time for a change.
It's probably time for a change, especially considering the last 3 years they haven't really done anything. So I have my wish list.
Who would be your go-to? If you could have any coach, who's your go-to?
It'd be Jerome Tang.
Straight up Jerome?
Yeah, I think he could do well there. Now, look, John Jacobs lives about 5 hours, 6 hours away now, so if he does well at FAU, I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be mad. Bucky Ball, wouldn't care. I wouldn't mind about that. Will Wade, go get him.
Yeah.
Go if he's not allowed to be hired in the SEC, go get him.
So weird. When Josh said that, it kind of makes sense. It would track why his name hadn't been called up. But he would be great for the FSU.
He does not respect the authority of.
He don't need to. That's what I love about it.
So go get Will Wade. I'll love it. But so far, no. And he lost, Leonard Hamilton did lose an assistant that became a head coach somewhere else, and that's kind of changed things there as well. Number 4, Arizona State. One Hurley's doing great. The other one, not yet at Arizona State. Bobby Hurley, who until the last couple of years was the more famous of the Hurleys because of his time as the point guard at Duke, because he was there with Leitner and Grant Hill and all those guys. Bobby Hurley and Arizona State, under 500 this year. I think they were 14 and 18. And they're about to come into a way better basketball league. Not knocking the Pac-12, but look, you're not going to get nights off in the Big 12. Arizona State, plus a new athletic director on the way. Things are changing at Arizona State. So if those programs around don't start winning, the athletic director has no reason coming in as a new hire to keep you at all. So Bobby Hurley is probably on a little bit of a watch there in Tempe.
I've always been I've never understood how Arizona's consistently good at basketball, but Arizona State will pop up like once or twice every decade. Yeah. They're so inconsistent. So they're going to have to bring it because it's going to be extremely difficult to be able to even compete in the Big 12 next season.
Well, look, think of your Arizona State right now. You look across at your in-state rival, Arizona.
Yeah.
You're both going into a new conference. Arizona's going in flying high, and you're going in going, oh, we got to change everything.
Yeah, head above water, barely.
And so that was not necessarily the case forever. And Arizona with football right now, they're very new blood, but they've got an exciting quarterback. They've got, even though they lost their coach, they got a coach that everybody feels good about. Kenny Dillingham's bringing a lot of excitement to Arizona State in football, but basketball, I would say that Bobby Hurley, it doesn't help that his brother is just
that's definitely not good.
The number one dude in the country right now. Number 3, Villanova, had an off year this year. For sure. And they're not at that Jay Wright level. I don't think that's going to be, but if they have another off year, a bad year, then they're not going to sit and wait around. This is what they have. This is what they have. They're a basketball school.
Yeah.
They're going to have to double down on that. And, the Big East is really good. So,
well, that's the other thing, too, is now with the Big East, Villanova has established themselves as one of the brands, whereas for years, they were kind of getting lost. So, you've got a little taste of it now. Now you just got to be consistent. Even if you turn in or go back to being what Creighton is, where you're always in the mix, and I think they will. I think they're going to be fine. They got the infrastructure there. It's just a matter of getting it done and finding the right people there.
Yeah. And, look, they're in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's a basketball mecca.
We also know Philadelphia, their sports fans are reasonable human beings.
Yes, they are.
There's nobody who's more measured in their looks in their takes in sports than a Philadelphia sports fan. I honestly do believe that it's a law in Philadelphia that you're not allowed to state a sports opinion unless you are absolutely
drunk and yelling
off your ass.
Yeah.
And drunk. You can't be I don't think the Eagles should sign Devontae Smith to a long-term deal just yet. Let's give him one more year and see if that's in. It's got to be 5 deep going, of course they should. I'll throw you through the glass of this Wallace. I think that's what they would do. Number 2, Texas. Rodney Terry heading to the SEC, really good basketball conference. I think he might be a little overmatched for this job.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to get the rabbit ears down. He's got to just focus on. He can recruit. There's no doubt that Rodney Terry can recruit, but is he one of those dudes who can recruit and then they just can't come together? He had a flashpoint event when Chris Beard got fired of. We're all in this together. Let's buckle down. And that's why they made their good run. Without that event to join the team together, this Texas team was one that either had the best chemistry you'd ever seen or the worst. And it was so weird how they would turn it on and turn it off. Or you remember in a Christmas Story where Clark is trying to
plug in
plug in. He has no idea why it's on or off. But Ellen was in there flipping the switch in the garage. That's kind of what Texas was last year, where they would turn on and then Rodney Terry's like, holy crap, what do we do? And then he gets mad about things the horns down.
Yeah,
he got in an argument here with Nikki Collin that was about really nothing, and he made a big deal about nothing. It was not a day of a game. It was it was really strange. He's and those things happen, and you start throwing those things out when you're trying to find I've got to do those scatter bombs so that the missile doesn't hit me. That's the evasive maneuvers. And he's got to just – I think he's going to be a good head coach somewhere someday, and maybe that place is at Texas, but that is a place where you cannot listen to anything that anybody says about you at all. Tom Herman learned that lesson.
When I look at him, I look at this kind of like the Shaka situation where you are a good coach, but everything around you in the program, you might not be the right person to be built for that. And you can go to a smaller school and have sustained success. But like if you look at this team, that's inexcusable for them to not have more success than they had this year. They were absolutely loaded across the board. I honestly thought they would get rid of him before they made the move into the SEC, but I kind of understand it. Just give him a year to see what you can do. But if you go in and you start getting – like you're going to have to play Chris Beard. Like, and that's going to be an issue whether he wants to think it is or not, especially if you get beat by him. So I think he's got a short leash heading to the SEC, and I honestly don't see him be a Texas head coach after next season.
Yep. And number 1, Indiana, Mike Woodson.
That poor guy.
They care about one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. Basketball. They have not been consistently good in a very long time.
Which is weird with NIL. You would think they would have big donors coming out.
But it's just been so long. Like, here's the thing. This generation of kids doesn't know about Bobby Knight. I mean, they know about him, but they don't. I mean, but Bobby Knight's dead.
Yeah.
Again, like and they ran him out the door, so, they're upset because Michigan hired Dusty May, who was a student manager for Bobby Knight, and they thought he would maybe come back home and fix things there, but it's not like they've got to stop thinking that they're Indiana
of the 80s.
Yeah. And that Hoosiers is a movie that was made recently, and that wasn't even about them. That was a high school basketball. Yeah. But like those things, like Indiana is a basketball mecca. Like they love their basketball in that state. They love it. They have to find the right guy who can reinvigorate it. But I've surprised for years that Indiana has not found it. And part of it is, they're kind of like where Michigan was in football until Harbaugh. They had their guy, he left, and then they kept trying to find somebody to bring the old magic back as opposed to creating new magic.
Do you think Purdue's success this year will push this and make
yes.
What is that going to do with this?
Absolutely. Look, it does not help that you look across the state and Matt Painter has a team that's regularly a number 1 seed now. That does not help.
And then Indiana State having the success they had.
Indiana State was closer to the tournament than Indiana was. Indiana State kind of got screwed.
They did get screwed.
Right? So Indiana didn't get screwed on anything. They just didn't make the tournament. So, and again, I'm not knocking Mike Woodson. I think he's been a guy who has taken jobs that are not right for him.
That's one way of putting it.
Stepping into situations look, LeBron James wanted him to be the head coach, and then he really didn't.
That's a totally derailed thing, man.
Yeah. So, at
least he's not the only one. LeBron's done that too.
No. Michael Jordan only did a one coach. Who we mentioned earlier in this segment, Leonard Hamilton. I remember thinking, when they hired him, well, this is a great deal. Yeah, he wasn't good enough for Michael Jordan, but
good enough for us.
Only one guy was, and that was Phil Jackson. So, or two guys, Dean Smith and Phil Jackson.
Yep.
There we go. Good enough. And it was it wound up being better than Steve Robinson, who was a coach before him. But I don't know. I don't know, but Indiana is befuddling to me.
They are.
And I do feel I'm sure their vibe is a lot like A&M in football. We love this so much, and we just want it would be so wonderful if we could just have it. If we could just be what we want to be. Mm-hmm. We love it so much. And then, they pray God, I promise we'll be good at we'll be the good kind of powerhouse. We'll do good things. We'll be so good with it. Why can't we have it? And it's maybe because you squeeze the bunny too hard.
Yup.
sometimes you squeeze the bunny too hard. I think Kentucky fans are
They're finding that
squeezing the
out.
bunny really hard right now. And, that
could be another thing, too, like with the crazed like, do you want to go into a situation like that?
Hey, Metal said, come on, Paul. You snubbed Memphis, man. All right, honorable mention, Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers.
He's doing some stuff.
I probably should have put them in there instead of Leonard Hamilton, because he just needs to retire.
Yeah.
Like he's not really in danger of getting fired. Like if he gets fired, it'll be one of those things like, here's your gold watch.
Thank you for your services.
Yeah. Thanks, Lenny. And, we're like what they did to Bobby. But Penny should have been on the list. My apologies. Look, I strive for excellence here.
You do.
I strive for excellence or just good enoughness, depending on the day. And by leaving them out, Metal, I apologize. Yes, Memphis should have been on that list. Penny Hardaway has been brought in to rejuvenate that program. Penny should have been on this list. Maybe over Bobby Hurley as well.
Yeah.
So, that was maybe over Villanova. Like, he should have been at least number 3. Number 1 and 2 were easy, Indiana and Texas. After that,
could have definitely been Memphis.
Yeah, could have definitely been Memphis. Well, I hate to end on such a sour note of failing you as viewers, as I have, but, shit happens.
They'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, so, and I said a bad word there. Just how it is. When we come back, we'll be back on Monday. I will not be here next Friday because I'll be turning 44 years old, and I don't want to. I need a couple days to cope with that.
Yeah,
I do. Here's the thing: I'm starting to notice. I could start I have not in my 40s. I don't have many gray hairs.
You don't? Yeah, you really don't.
I don't. I've been very lucky. I have friends that are like, you don't have any grays, and I'm like, you're thin, so up yours. If you gave me ripped up, if I looked like Jack Reacher, you could make my hair I could look like Einstein. I wouldn't care. That's a trade I'd make in a second. A second. Tall, make me tall and muscular and thin. I don't care about gray hair.
Yeah.
I'll have alopecia from here down. I don't care. But I don't have many, but there's an angle that you go to when I'm not on this camera.
Yeah, that'll probably be the one that's on me. Hold up.
Yeah.
Let me work this.
So, is it this one over here?
Hang on, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
It's all messed up.
Okay. But I can see some grays in my beard, and it's starting to mess with me in a way that it's not. Yeah, see, you can kind of see them, right?
A little bit
of grays in my beard, and a little bit right here too. There's one. Look at this guy. You see him?
Yeah.
I'm not dealing well with it.
It's not receding hairline or nothing. I have to shave my head.
I do here. I've lost some hair here. But I'm fortunate enough to keep it enough. I've got good coverage.
Yeah.
To where unless you guys start shooting me from here, I'm all right.
Put the Mevo up above you.
There was a shot Jack took a picture when we were at Pivo Bar, from the side, and you could see it, and I was like, oh God,
this is happening.
Yeah, Rogaine, take me away. So S. Michael DeHart, thank you. Absolutely, I agree with that. Smokey does need to give me a raise, even though he does not pay me. Smokey should walk in the door and give us all money. I mean, for no other reason than I just like people giving me money.
Heck yeah.
But when we come back on Monday, we're going to have a lot of football stuff. We have Matt Rule on Monday.
Yep.
And one of the things we're going to talk about is arranging a trip for Smokey to Lincoln, which Rule was pretty pissed about.
Yeah.
That it hadn't happened.
It's going to happen.
We got to get Smokey to Nebraska. I'll find somebody to cover the Midway game for him that
He gonna
week.
go.
Yeah, we got to get him there. And we also have Wednesday, we got Rhett Lashley from SMU. One of my favorite guests to have. I love Coach Lashley.
Yeah, Lashley's good.
Matt Rule, too. Like, we have two great guests next week. We'll probably get Tim Brando next week, I would think, too. This is kind of an interesting time. We're going to have Tim Brando on. So we'll probably do that. I don't know, but that's all coming up. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for putting up with me flying solo. Like the first 2 episodes of Survivor where they can't start the fire. We were smokeless today. And that was 1 pun an hour. And I'm proud of myself that I held myself to that. That's kind of like I just had 1 cookie, like 1 Thin Mint and not the whole sleeve. So have a great week. Yeah, have a great weekend, everybody. If you're here in Central Texas, 365 Sports Night coming up at 10:30 on the CW. See you then.